Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yamina Revolution, and this the end of Joe Biden's presidency. Is the end? And the bootlicking, buck dancing house niggas, the Boule, they definitely let him down, lied to him. Now blacks are abandoning them at an alarming rate. Be sure to wipe your feet. You in the House of Revolution. That means hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. We got to deal with this alarming information this evening. We got nighttime revolutionary classes. It's all over the Joe Biden's family. They meeting up right now. Just ponder, should he step down? Fuck no, they power hungry. They don't want to, they don't want to step down, but they are meeting up to know what their next move gonna be. That's get the Boule to get us back in line, which won't work. But the news about the polls, 3 out of 4 Americans, that's 3 out of 4 people that they ask say he's unfit to be president, and they don't want him running. That's devastating for Jim Crow Joe.
Voters decide in November. A new CBS News poll reveals what some may think about the abilities of the two presidential candidates. After debating Donald Trump last week, 3 out of 4 voters polled say President Biden should not be running. They base this off of his campaigning and effectiveness in the Oval Office, along with his age. But the president is vowing to stay in the race, despite the poll finding voters widely believe Trump won the debate.
They had a very good night. People who watched the debates thought the same thing, too. At the end of the day, he was strong, he was clear, he was coherent.
And Joe Biden is not going to take himself out of this race, nor should he. I do think that President Biden has earned the respect of Democrats, and Joe Biden is going to be our leader going forward.
Now, hold on. Y'all keep your eye on this Boule house nigga, Westmore, whatever it's Revolutionary Salute, Quinn. Westmore, keep your eyes on him, because I've seen a poll where they might try to sneak him in to be the president or run for president. That's why he had his little marijuana repeal a couple of weeks ago. He's a shoe shiner, and they trying to bring house niggas like him out to get us to help them patch up the sinking ship. Hell no, nigga. You going down with the ship, shoe shiner.
That same CBS News poll found half of registered voters believe Trump does not have the cognitive ability to serve.
Salute. Whatever. 3 out of 4 voters say hell no, Jim Crow Joe gotta go. They would never vote for him. They say he's not mentally fit to be the president. Salute. It's the end of the Boule. See, this really hurt the Boule. They weak. We got them on the ropes. You see what I'm saying? It's the end of them. They can no longer act like they got sway and juice in our communities, because they don't. They can no longer be in our communities acting like they got real pull in Washington, D.C. Oh, the hell with you, house niggas.
More fallout from President Joe Biden's poor debate performance this week. It has campaign surrogates on the defense. As CBS's Christian Benavides tells us, Biden vowing now to remain in the race. But a new CBS poll shows most voters would rather he bow out.
President Joe Biden is in Camp David, gathering with family after fundraisers and events in New York and New Jersey, including speaking to LGBTQ voters at the Stonewall Inn.
Well, I look around at the pride, hope, and light that all of you bring. I know is a battle we're going to win.
Yet the fallout over his poor debate performance continues. Maryland's Democratic Governor Wes Moore, a Biden surrogate on Face the Nation, was on the defense.
Joe Biden is not going to take himself out of this race, nor should he. I do think that President Biden has earned the respect of Democrats, and Joe Biden is going to be our leader going forward.
A new CBS poll conducted after the debate does not look good for Biden. Only about 1 in 4 voters think Biden has the cognitive ability to serve as president. And about 3/4 of registered voters
they gotta stop that. They try to throw a bunch of numbers on. They people real cool. They real crafty at what they do. Put a bunch of numbers on the screen. Hey, they know old people can't see and their eyes hurt. You know, they talk to 4 people. 3 out of 4 people say hell no, he should not be running for president. Now, how can you run for president when 3 out of 4 people say you shouldn't run for president? This is supposed to be a democracy. They told you this is democracy. Well, 3 out of 4 people are saying he should not run. This man should immediately step down. He's saying hell no because he thinks he's some type of emperor.
Think he shouldn't be running. including nearly half of Democrats who say he shouldn't be the nominee. Former President Donald Trump's surrogates are still riding high.
Half of Democrats, this is democracy, half of his own party say, hell no, Jim Crow, you got to sit your butt down somewhere. He said, hell no. Then they bring that house nigga Westmore there talking about he earned it. He deserves it. What the hell are you talking about, coon? What are you talking about? This man could barely put any sentences together, but they pull the black people up. Why to convince black people? See, if all the blacks get back to voting for Joe Biden, he could easily win, but that ain't happening, so his ass is grass.
The debate.
I thought he had a very good night. People who watched the debates thought the same thing, too. At the end of the day, he was strong. He was clear. He was coherent.
Despite poor debate reviews, the Biden campaign is projecting financial stability. The campaign says it raised $27 million since the debate.
From who?
Christian Benavides, CBS News.
That's dirty laundry
A little
money.
more on that CBS News poll Christian talked about that found about half of registered voters believe former President Trump doesn't have the cognitive.
See, this is about Biden. This is about Biden. They try to throw some punches at Trump at the end. See, the media is biased. No, the poll said 3 out of 4 Americans don't want Biden around. Some people gonna stand that day and say, they also said something about Trump. Nigga, we ain't talking about, we talking about Biden. Nigga, he the president. Hotel family salute. You see this? Oh no, this ain't. Hold on, this ain't the one. But we finna get in that. We finna get into blacks turning on Biden at an alarming rate. The Boule is very upset. We gotta be very cautious of the Boule. They might resort to violence, y'all. Y'all be on y'all guard. We can't put violence. We can't put violence. They can't put that past them. They might resort to violence. The Boule to stand. That's why I got my eyes on them.
Reporting that President Biden's family is encouraging the president to stay in the 2024 race, defying calls for him to step aside following his.
Now they say President Biden. Now, this is disgusting. Jim Crow Joe went to meet up and huddle up with his family because they say he's not listening to nobody else. The only people he listen to is his family. He say F Obama. He know Obama want to sell him out. That's real talk. He might lock Obama up for cheats. That's real talk. Obama better be very careful, man. Joe Biden is still in power. Obama better remember that. When you're the president, you still got the most power. Okay. Hunter Biden, this nigga could be going to federal prison. Hell no, he don't want Joe Biden to step down, nigga. He definitely gonna get it if Trump get in office. So he's saying hell no, he wanted that to die in office. Jill Biden, hell no, she don't want Joe Biden to step down because she got a lot of power that this nigga is comatose and could barely speak.
Arming performance in Thursday's debate. The family is meeting at Camp David tonight. This is part of a planned gathering that was scheduled before the debate, we're told. And the message out of that meeting, at least for now, appears to be support for the president to continue pursuing a second presidential term. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins us now in Washington. Priscilla, what's your latest reporting at this hour?
Well, the president is huddling with his family following the immediate fallout of his debate performance on Thursday night. And Biden advisors are telling CNN that his family is encouraging him to stay in the race and supporting him and expressing that support, including Hunter Biden and the president's grandchildren. These advisors also saying that the conversations have been focused on how the family can help the president and not whether he should reconsider his candidacy. Of course, all of these conversations follow what has transpired since Thursday night's debate, as there have been calls for the president to withdraw from the race, including in editorial boards, as well as all corners of the Democratic Party. Now, the president himself has also been collecting data anecdotally and through public polling as he too tries to assess what folks are feeling across the party. And that has been a deep concern. Panic has certainly set in. Donors have been racked with anxiety over the president's poor performance on Thursday night. Now, the president, of course, did participate in a fundraising blitz over the weekend where he, too, conceded that Thursday night was not his best debate performance, but said that he would continue to fight and that he wanted to stay in the race. But the president and his campaign are certainly, Allison, under great scrutiny tonight. And what we know so far from the huddle that he had with his family at Camp David today is that he has the support of his family and their encouragement. Of course, that is no small thing. These are key players in President Biden's orbit and have been crucial in a lot of his decision making when it comes to running for president.
Priscilla, thank you very much for all of that reporting. We're joined now by CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton. He was here to run the numbers. So, Harry, do we have new poll numbers for President Biden post-debate?
We do. You know, CBS News YouGov conducted some polling post-debate. We can compare it to the pre-debate numbers. And the bottom line, Alice, it's not any good. It's not any good. Look at this. Voters who say that Biden has the mental health to be president. It was just 35% pre-debate. Look where it's dropped to now post-debate, 27%. How about that he should be running for president? It was 37% pre-debate. It's now 28%. I have never seen numbers this bad for an incumbent president.
Never seen numbers this bad for an incumbent president. They don't want him in office. They say it's a democracy. Why won't he step down? The people in this democracy are saying, no, Mr. President, we don't want you. You're mentally incapable of running this great nation, of being in control of this free democratic republic. All that nonsense they like to tell us about shows you these people are liars. He don't want to give up power. The Democrats don't want to give up power. His family, knowing he mentally disabled, they say he's a feeble-minded old man. Remember, that's what the court said. They could not prosecute him because he's a feeble-minded old man. This is disgusting. And no, the world never going to look at America the same after this. This is disgusting, man. They know you do not listen to, they don't listen to the will of the people, and the polls show that. And CNN, and really the news is really shaming Biden. They want him to get out the way ASAP so they can try to put somebody in there to run against Trump. Biden and his family is refusing. That's why the media, one after the other, is saying this, the truth. Nobody wants him.
During my lifetime, I mean, that mental health to be president, just 27%. You might say, okay, you know, that's low, but a lot of people thought Biden was too old back in 2020. These numbers look nothing like this back in 2020. These numbers were bad already. And the truth is, Allison, they have gotten just considerably worse, even in just a few days after that first presidential debate.
Harry, do we have polling yet that suggests that voters want a different candidate?
Yeah, this is the whole question, right? If it's not President Biden, then who could it be on the Democratic side? And the truth is, there are no easy answers. You know, I went back and looked at the polling versus Donald Trump for a bunch of different Democrats have been suggested. Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris. Look at this. They all trail Donald Trump. So the idea here that we're somehow going to get this magic bullet, that there's somehow going to be some Democrat who can beat Donald Trump easily.
We already talked about this the other day. It's by name recognition. Only person with name recognition is the Obamas. Obama can't run, but Barack can't run, but Michelle sure as hell can. The other night I reported, y'all be looking out for her. Looking out for her. I've been telling y'all that. They already reporting she has a problem. She beefing with the Bidens. She refused to campaign for the Bidens. Yesterday, Stephen A. Smith, that Boule house nigga, came out and said Michelle Obama should save Biden's presidency. Come on, man. It's right in your face. And it really, truthfully, none of those politicians can beat Trump. That's not going to happen. The only person is Michelle Obama because of name recognition. That's it.
I just don't see it in the numbers. At this particular point, if Joe Biden takes on Donald Trump, he's trailing. If there's another Democrat who runs against Donald Trump, they too are trailing. Perhaps you want to make the argument you bring in another Democrat who isn't as well known as Joe Biden, who has universal name recognition, and maybe they could change the numbers. But the fact is, any Democrat who entered the race right now, at least among those that are being suggested by a bunch of folks, they would all enter the race at this particular point as an underdog to former President Donald Trump.
But Harry, are those numbers old numbers or are those since the debate? I mean, maybe the conversation has changed.
Yeah, those are not numbers that have been taken since the debate, though I was looking at numbers that were post-debate. This takes into account an average, a long-term average, right? Because the key is I don't just want to rely upon one polling number. But even the limited polling data that we have post-debate suggests that none of those candidates on your screen, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, or Kamala Harris, any of those would be favored over Donald Trump. He leads against all of them, whether you look at the pre-debate numbers or the post-debate numbers. And of course, I like to look at an aggregate of numbers. So that's what I did. But the fact is, even if you just did post-debate.
This being the truth. Now they so fearful of Joe Biden just getting stomped out by Trump, which is gonna happen if Joe Biden try to run against Trump. That now they telling the goddamn truth. They done wasted too much time. I tell you, the only other person that could have, and Trump said this a year ago, the only person that could have standed a chance against him is Bernie Sanders, because the colleges was with him. The youth was with him. You know, they might not be with him no more because he backstabbed them and sided with Hillary and Obama and Biden. But because he had the youth riding with him, and he really could raise money, and he had big crowds. He was the only one. They double-crossed him and got him out the way. There is nobody else in a political party that can go against the Trump machine. And this is the absolute truth. Now they're putting it on TV, letting the whole world know this has gone horribly wrong for the Democrats. They done it to themselves.
It really wouldn't look any different.
Everything.
Do you have any precedent for how lopsided Thursday's debate was?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take one solace, if you are Joe Biden, the fact is, first debate winner margins. Look, Donald Trump, more people by a 34-point margin said that Donald Trump beat Joe Biden in the debate. That's not much different than what Joe Biden's margin was over Donald Trump 4 years ago. It's actually larger than the Hillary Clinton margin that she had over Donald Trump. But you may remember that first debate back in 2012 where Barack Obama just did horribly. Mitt Romney won that debate in the voters' minds by 42 points. But of course, he didn't become president. Barack Obama was reelected. So I guess if you want to take a look on the one bright note, is there is a history of someone losing the first debate as an incumbent and going on to win the presidency, and that was 12 years ago.
Okay, so you're saying that somebody, I mean, you have seen examples of somebody, coming from behind, basically, in that way after a poor debate.
Yeah, that is true. But here's the thing that I would note, which is that Joe Biden was trailing going into the first debate, okay? Barack Obama was leading. So I want to limit it down for you. Incumbents who were trailing going into the first debate and then lost that first debate. Well, how about Jimmy Carter lost that one debate he took on Ronald Reagan in 80. George H.W. Bush lost that first debate to both Ross Perot and Bill Clinton. And in 2020, Donald Trump lost that first debate to Joe Biden. Well, guess what, Allison? They all lost. They all lost. So the question is for Joe Biden, can he defy history, create new history, and be an incumbent who trailed going into that first debate and then won? Well, he's going to have to do it if he wants to get reelected in November.
Anton, thank you very much for sharing all of these new numbers with us. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Congresswoman, always great to see you. Thank you for making time for us tonight. You've known President Biden and his family for a long time. What do you think he's wrestling with tonight? Do you think he is wrestling with this decision?
First of all, I have not talked to anybody in the family since the debate on Thursday night. I said on Friday morning, we can't sugarcoat this. Thursday night was not a good night. And we know what he's got to do. He has to go out and prove to the American people that he can still, not that he can, I mean, he has done a great job as president. And we have 4 years of Donald Trump compared to 4 years of Joe Biden. But he got to go out there and show people it was a bad night, that he is capable of doing the job. He can't make mistakes. And I think he gets that. I think this family is a very close family. They're talking to each other. And I think a whole lot of people are wringing their hands, adding to the drama. I know one thing. I know what'll happen if we have another 4 years of Donald Trump. And I am working to remind everybody of how much he doubled down on Thursday night about a woman's right to make her own health care decisions, how January 6th was okay, making fun of veterans, not saying he'll protect seniors and Social Security, that he will protect his billionaire friends. I've been to probably 30 events since I left Washington on Friday. And while all my friends in Washington, my colleagues, everybody else is talking and wringing their hands, believe it or not, back here, people are talking about it here at home. Some people are saying it was a bad debate. I had one African-American male who was not leaning towards Joe Biden, said to me after listening to Donald Trump Thursday night, I think I know more why I should vote for Joe Biden. It's a long time between now and November, and every one of us has a job to do to remind people what will happen if we have a second Trump presidency.
Well, I mean, a couple of things. Unfortunately for Democrats, the president's poor performance eclipsed some of the substance or the answers of what Donald Trump gave. And so obviously the president is having to, and Democrats are having to fight that wave also. There's, basically, it's not just pundits. It's also voters, because we do have new polling out. And you just heard from Harry Enton. So there's this new CBS poll out today. It shows that 72% of the voters polled do not think that Joe Biden should.
Man, if this is a damn democracy or not, man. I heard this is democracy. They beat into our head. I was definitely hear them tell Iran and Russia and China and Venezuela and Africa that this is the democracy. The voters matter. Okay, 7% of the voters say this man should not run. He's not mentally capable. They're going to just gloss over that? 72%. Nobody want him in there, but that's his family and the rest of the Democrats who getting paid off of his crime family. That's them up there. That's the 28%. His inner circle want him to run. This is bullshit, man. 72%. And his family talk about it. They support him to continue to run. What about what we said as the people? This is disgusting, man. America's
running again. That's up 9% from a poll in February. So what does that make you think, Congresswoman, in terms of...
You know what, Allison?
Yeah.
It reminds me of in 2015 and 2016, when nobody thought Hillary Clinton could win.
What a joke.
And I kept telling people, I have a gut. And I kept... You know how many people I told Donald Trump could win this election, and he would win the election. The Detroit Free Press had headlines declaring Hillary Clinton the winner that night. So these are polls. We're all throwing numbers just the way those who prepped Joe Biden probably gave him too many numbers for Thursday night. It's a long way between now and November. A lot of things can happen. We know that the president has to show people it was a bad night. He's up to the job. He had a cold. That's what we're being told. He has to show people that that's the case. But these numbers
tell us Joe Biden had a cold, ma'am. If Joe Biden had a cold, this is the insane bullshit. If Joe Biden had a cold, why did he, right after the debate, did he go to a speech where him and his wife and people's on stage? Just what he wants to get everybody sick. Why did he immediately give a speech the next day? And why he go on the road? If he had a cold, wouldn't you help the president? Wouldn't you put him up so you can get him better? They just bold-faced lie to your face. Oh, he had a cold. That's why he couldn't really speak, and he was mumbling over his sentences. What the hell are you talking about? We've seen that man around all kind of people. They don't give a damn what they tell you.
Numbers also are mumble jumble to me, because the only poll that matters is that on election day. And we got a lot of work to do. Thursday night wasn't good. We got a hard road ahead of us.
See, them people they don't have no shame. She just get up there and lie, just bold face lie to you. Oh, he had a cold. And then she called herself and said, well, that's what they said. Because she knew she was lying. And she wanted at least have something to fall back on and say, well, I'll just repeat what the Biden. Yeah, you were a surrogate for the Biden campaign, man. That man should be in a mental home on house arrest, because what him and Hunter been doing is treason. We're going to definitely get to the bottom of that 10% he's been getting off the Ukraine funds.
The black vote is known as the backbone of the Democratic Party. But here in Georgia, it could make or break President Joe Biden. Former President Donald Trump is trying to make inroads, particularly with black men. And he doesn't need to win the demographic, but he can cut into Biden's margins.
Well, both candidates are attempting their best to get as many African-American votes as possible without actually having to do anything for the black community.
As someone that lives in Atlanta, I'm a proud resident of Atlanta. I live in Fulton County. I think a lot of people are suffering from this horrific economy. Our country is in great danger with so much that's happening. And the policies that the current administration is allowing is not helping anyone.
But for so long, we have just been automatically voting Democrat, much to our disadvantage. And with Trump going into the neighborhoods, he's already familiar with the black community. It's not like he just woke up one day and said, hey, I think I'll get a black friend. That's not it.
President Trump very much has positioned himself for the course of the last 40 years as kind of the hip hop candidate. He was appearing on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the 1990s. He was in rap videos with Puff Daddy. He was hanging out with Mike Tyson.
The Democrats have always taken our votes for granted. They failed on their promises, but we've seen in the last administration with President Trump that he did a lot for the black community. And now we realize that after these 3 years with Biden.
The biggest shift in black vote is black males. And that relates a lot to criminal justice issues. So that's a big reason that he's gaining that vote. And then economic issues are hitting the black community. The inner city communities are devastated by Biden's economic policy.
Many people feel that there's been $60 billion sent to Ukraine, tens of billions of dollars sent to Israel, tens of billions of dollars to the southern border, to Taiwan, etc. But when it comes to the African American community, the things that we were promised were not delivered upon. And now you're back again asking for the vote again without delivering on those previous promises. And this is what is resulting in President Biden hemorrhaging these votes.
So Donald Trump came to Detroit, to the hood, first president to do so, not Obama, not Biden. And he did not placate. He did not go, they're going to put y'all in chains. And he did not go, Hillary Clinton, I don't feel no ways tired. He did not have to bring watermelon and fried chicken, bring policies that affect us, which is great quality education and choice in education, which is lower gas prices, which is make my bread affordable, lower my interest rates and tax rates, make buying a house affordable. Because I guess what? Those are Black issues. And we're not feeling Joe Biden.
What I see is, especially in certain minority communities, they're seeing, look, hey, this two-tiered justice system has worked against us for years, and now it's working against him. And so he's experiencing what we have experienced for decades. And I think that they're turning toward him because they see that he is uncovering this two-tiered justice system. There's laws for some that don't apply to others.
Hey man, they just brought in President Trump, mugshot and everything. It was the most egregious thing I've ever known to happen to a president. It really put us in a different mindset when we saw that as Black Americans. It really did.
He took serious and substantive steps to reform the criminal justice system then. And now that same group of people who appreciate that effort are recognizing that this system that has constantly gone against them in the minority community is now going against this guy, Donald Trump, in exactly the same way. I do believe that's having some effect as well.
And this is why he's having these events, having these African-American meetings, because he understands he only needs 20% of the Black vote to swing a state like Georgia or Pennsylvania or Michigan in his favor versus Biden, where he needs to get 85 to 90% of the Black vote to even be viable.
He can take his hot sauce fried chicken and his watermelon self, and he can stick it because we're tired of it. There's nothing that this man has to offer but him to resign as president or be voted out.
With Biden winning Georgia by 1,200 votes in 2020, every vote will matter in 2024. I'm Naomi Lim in Atlanta for the Washington Examiner.
That's telling it like it is. You could take your watermelon, your hot sauce, and them bootlicking, shoe shining, bug dancing house niggas. It's over for them Boule. They done shame themselves. The Democrats will never let them, they never pay them for no more Democratic surrogacy. It's over for them.
Us. And the Democratic Party is playing in our faces. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're playing in our faces. They have no respect for us at all, to the point that they're just in our faces, dissing us, disrespecting us, playing us for a fool, mocking us, being arrogant. They believe they're the best thing that could ever happen for us. And we are lucky to get an opportunity to send them our money.
That's right.
Here goes a clip of your friend Jim Clyburn reminding you just how lucky you are that Joe Biden is your president.
I don't think he needs to do anything but what he's doing. I think Joe Biden is doing exactly what he needs to do to win re-election. I think the polling that's taking place, something that's amiss with the polling. I call your attention to the recent polls over in Maryland. The African-American woman running for the United States Senate nomination. The Sunday before the election, one poll had her 5 down, the other poll had her 7 down, and she won by 13. How do you explain that? That's 20 points.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going on with polling these days, but I do know this. The polls did not have Ossoff nor Warnock win in Georgia, and both of them won. polls did not have Macbeth getting 80-something% in their district.
Oh,
but she
hey,
did.
hey, I can answer that for you. Y'all cheated. It's a GED question. You want to know how you won? You cheated. What? What you talking about? But now, people didn't think Warnock and Joseph, Asif, Ossoff. I ain't heard nothing about him since he got in either. And Warnock going on with whatever, just so happy to be there. Did they do anything for us now that they got in? No, I didn't think so. Nah, man. See, he said Biden ain't got to do nothing. The numbers just wrong. People are happy. People are happy. And black people don't need that for me. This is all nonsense. Joe Biden's doing an excellent job. Everybody says so. Everybody that Jim Clyburn knows says so. That's what you call playing in your face. So you mean to tell me all the people that are upset right now, all the people that say they're not happy, that's all BS. That's just stuff. All the polls are lying. They playing in your face. That's all. Playing in your face. Let's keep going, Clyburn. I love what Clyburn talk. He always give me great material.
Main one got exposed. Every time they brought him on the news, they asked him about the polls. It's getting worse for Joe Biden. He kept saying, they even asked him, sir, even in your district, we talked to some people. Who? I talked to some people. My family. I just left there we just had a fish fry. And I haven't heard none of this. Who are these people? It's crazy. They exposed him on the news before. But he lied all the way to the end.
Anybody who believes that Donald Trump will get 30% of the black male vote.
Oh, he listened to me.
12%.
Hey, Clyburn, you listen to the Tim Black Show? I know you hate watch, don't you? Somebody in your camp been listening. I called that months ago. Who you know?
What black men gonna vote?
I got receipts on that one, sucker. Who said that? Who said that? And don't tell me, this guy used to talk about toe jam. Was calling that suit sale. You called it 2 weeks ago. No, I called that months ago, Johnson. Months ago I said this. Tim Clyburn, let me find out you listening to your brother Tim Black, man. I was not listening to you, Tim Black. I was not listening. I would never listen to you. I listened to people that know Tim Clyburn. We was having some Xanax fish fry, and we was listening to some Commodores. Let them keep going, Tim Black. Stop. Let them keep going.
For the black female vote, I got a bridge down there on Johns Island, I'll sell you.
Let's bring right Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. He's the national co-chair for the Biden.
Look at do you see this? You see this, right? You see this? You see this? They playing in your face. Look at him. Look at that smile. He ain't got a care in the world. You know why?
Credibility no more.
Pharmaceutical money.
This nigga and a lot of them coons, Roland Martin, they cost Joe Biden his presidency because they wouldn't tell him the truth. You see, same thing Malcolm X talked about when he talked about the Mau Mau. And he said, you can't listen to these type of coons when they're talking about the Mau Mau revolution in Kenya because the white people will say, they go ask people like Jim Clyburn, have you heard of the Mau Mau? What Mau Mau? Huh? What? They lying to the white man. The next thing you know, the white men get their head cut off by the Mau Mau. You see, you can't listen to these coons. What's going on with the black revolution? Huh? Ain't no revolution. They still down with Joe Biden? Yes, sir. They still down with you. The whole time the poll showing they abandoned him at an alarming rate. He's still smiling and lying and talking about something must be wrong with the polls, sir. These people know this man ain't gonna have a heart attack real soon. If you think they're gonna let him and the rest of them coons get away with this, no. Be looking for the fallout. They gonna clean house. Al Sharpton, that little weekend show getting canceled, nigga. You damn shoe shiner. You didn't warn them neither. You lied every day.
He got his, get yours. Here, Clyburn been got his, get yours. Clyburn is one of the biggest recipients of everybody in Congress. There's a lot of Congress people. Clyburn is like in the top 5 of how much money he take from the pharmaceutical industry. Meanwhile, his people don't have pharmaceutical money. Just Clyburn. Clyburn has one of the poorest districts in the country. But Clyburn is doing fine. All his teeth capped, and he always got fresh fish fry. Yes, he does. And he's going to tell you how great Biden doing. And these people just trying to they just trying to rise up controversy. It's the Chinese and the Russian that's on Facebook.
He said
making these false lies, these lies. Black women ain't going nowhere. Black women gonna vote for Joe. That's what they better do. Let's hear him lie again. Here goes some more stuff.
Campaign. You know, Jim, that reminds me of two things. One is when a person running Trump's campaign back in 2020 tried to tell me he was going to get 20% of the black vote in 2020. I said, no, he isn't. Other thing it reminds me of when I got elected, like at 31, a lot of people coming in. It reminds me of two things. One is when a person running Trump's campaign back in 2020 tried to tell me he was going to get 20% of the black vote in 2020. I said, no, he isn't.
Why would he not get 20% of the black vote? Are black people doing so well in the Democratic Party or something? What is it that makes, let's just have an honest conversation here, Scarborough. What is it about Biden that will make black people like obliged to give them a bunch of votes? I mean, I understand why we voted for Obama. I mean, the first white president probably raked up a lot of votes too. Among the whites, was considered they were the only people that could vote. Sure, he got 99% of the white vote. Or, 99% of his voters are white. But I'm saying this, what has Joe Biden done that you would laugh when somebody say, hey, I'm going after 20% of the black vote? Why would you laugh? Trump is white and so is Biden. They playing in your face, black Americans. They are playing in your face. You owe Joe for what? I don't know. Why would you owe Joe a vote? For what? What has Joe done for you, black woman, that you are money in the bank? Money in the bank. Always bet on black woman. Why? I'm trying to figure out what happened. What did he do? What did you do? What kind of arrangement y'all got? He been breaking you off some money? Black women, check your bank accounts right away. Check your bank accounts. Do you got your Joe Biden check in the mail? Did it come in? Did the money transfer come in? I'm trying to understand what he did. Brothers, man, make sure your girl ain't get some money on the side from Joe Biden. Because according to Joe Scarborough and Jim Clyburn, ain't no damn way black women ain't gonna vote for Joe Biden. And I want to know what he did. What did he do that made black women feel like, ain't no way, Joe ain't got nothing to worry about? What in the mammification a black woman did Joe Biden do? What did he do? They played in your face. They be scaring black women. That's what they be doing. Yeah, they told black women, you don't need your man. Feminism. You don't need no man. Then they made noise at the door. After you got rid of your man and you're alone in the dark in your nice crib because you got your nice job where nobody really like you. You don't like them really, but you fit in, you code switching. You come home to your empty house and your kids. Then they make a noise at the door. And then they tell you the only way to keep the noise outside the door and to keep your children safe is to vote blue. They playing in your face. They are playing in your face. Why else would they take you for granted like that? What have you done? I'm just saying, don't tell me the talking points that Clyburn been reciting for the past year. Don't tell me that, this black woman on TikTok said, yeah, she said that because she want to be on MSNBC. They'll never put her on MSNBC, dog. She just hoping she could get a job. Don't you realize that? You don't see that? No, so. Nah, man. What have they done that they could be? I can understand people being confident. I'm confident with Mrs. Black. You know why? Because I've been with her for so long. I've done so many things. I could name a trail. I could go down a list of things I did for Mrs. Black that gives me confidence in things we've been through together. It gives me confidence in our relationship. And she can name things that she done for me that gives her confidence in the relationship. Things we've been through together. What y'all been through with Joe Biden that y'all ain't telling us about? What dire straits did he pull you through? I'm trying to figure it out. And like I said, don't tell me no rundown talking points prepped by the DNC, filtered by bald-headed knuckleheads on TikTok, trying to get a career that don't include them doing anything, except sitting there and repeating what they heard Joy Reid say. They ever go up on the stage in front of people, they would pee on themselves. Horrible public speaking skills, never done anything. They never worked as journalists, I have, and they never did public speaking, I have. They never did anything except plug up their webcams and repeat what Joy Reid said. That's their claim to fame. And you're going to listen to their talking points. If you think that black people are actually doing well, you crazy. Ain't nobody doing well except the 1%. Ain't nobody killing it in America. Most people are struggling right now. You seen Biden rallies? They talk all this smack about the Trump rallies. Have you seen a Biden rally? He couldn't fill a gymnasium. He could not fill a gymnasium. Trump filled more people with 36 convictions than Biden filled with no convictions. Because he's got no conviction. It is what it is. Let them keep talking. They dig in their own grave. Man, listen, one thing is for certain, and two things for sure. It's one thing to be confident because you have put in the work, because you have put up so much of you have demonstrated your loyalty by what you have done for people. And by that, you feel you can rely on your past deeds. You know, you can, hey, man, I put in on this relationship. I bust my ass. I was at the bus stop with you, baby, when we didn't have nothing. That was me and you. When you needed a ride, when you needed this, when you needed that, I had your back. When your feet hurt, I rub them. When you too sick to get out of bed, I got you. Don't move. What the Democratic Party done did that they could talk like, oh, I know I'm good shit. I got sister girl, she got us. I wish I would worry about anything. What they do? What do they do? Nothing worse than being taken for granted by people who don't deserve it. Give it up for that. Once again, the title of tonight's show is They Playing in Your Face. They playing in your face. I'm telling you, man, the Democratic Party gonna come try to stop me, shut me down eventually. Because ain't nobody talking like this, man. Not like this. I mean, they say it. They're playing in your face. They are playing in your face. That ain't the same thing. They are playing in your face. I'm in your face, and I'm telling you, they are playing in your face. They don't respect you. If they respected you, Jim Clyburn wouldn't start with, Joe Biden don't have to do nothing. He done did it all. He's done the polls is wrong. People love him. He's done everything. Meanwhile, people going 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter. Whew, could you cash out me a couple bucks so I can get to work, baby? The number one cause of bankruptcy, illness, medical bills. That sounds like somebody taking care of somebody. I had a sister just tell me she got $30,000 worth of medication she got to take. I guess that insulin hookup for the seniors didn't cover it. That's right, because not everybody's a senior who qualifies. And not everybody needs insulin. Let's keep going, man. This is good. I mean, I love it when they dig their own ditch, climb in and pour the dirt in on top of themselves. It's a beautiful thing. Saves me the time.
Other thing it reminds me of, when I got elected, like at 30, 31, I had a lot of people coming in saying, okay, how did you win? And what do I need to do to win? And they start talking about these Republicans, these white Republicans start talking about how they're going to be the ones who are going to crack the code and they're going to get 30, 40% of the black vote.
What'd you do, Jim? Scarborough, Joe, how'd you win, Joe? Yeah, because you talk a lot. You be talking a lot about black this, black that. I'm just wondering. I forget. I think you're from Massachusetts. Where you from, Joe? And you were a Republican, too. You're a defector. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, how'd you do? I'm just trying to understand. Very interesting. Very interesting. Look at Clyburn smiling. Smiling. Do you know Jim Clyburn gerrymandered his district so that other black progressive candidates got to go against him with all his money, all the money stacked up. They got to go against Clyburn. He made it so there's only one district that has black people in it. They took all the black neighborhoods and put them in one district electorally. He did that by teaming up. Because South Carolina is very white, very Republican, I should say, very, very Republican. It's about 40% black, if I'm not mistaken, but it's very Republican. Conservative. They control the state house, right? So he had to negotiate with them, those white Republican folks, and he was able to cut a deal with them. So he stay out their way, they stay out his way. But all the black people lose representation except for Clyburn. That's how he became the kingmaker. Not because he works hard. I have never heard anybody ever say in the history of Democratic politics in South Carolina say, hey, man, Jim Clyburn, man, he be busting his ass for us. He be working really hard for us, man. We got the best district. Now, we got some dummies to say, hey, man, Jim Clyburn really do good with their fish fry. And I say, how the roads? How's the hospitals? How's the school system? It ain't all Jim's fault. He got to work with these white guys. It's always an excuse, dumb. Always. Let's keep going.
Before it came out of the mouth, they said, no, you're not. You're going to get 5%. And if you work really hard, you can get those numbers up. But the Trump people, I mean.
Why is it? Why, Jim? Why is it you only get 5%? Because they don't do anything for the black vote. I'm trying to tell you that's the same thing with Democrats. We're a long ways away from the civil rights movement. My boomers, my black boomers, my young black boomers, we're a long ways away from the civil rights movement. Let go of that idea that, the Democrats, they were the ones that they are the Lyndon B. Johnson. Okay, I know. I know the Republicans, there was a switch, whatever, man. Filibustering on the House floor. We know who did that shit. On the Senate floor, we know who did that. Joe Biden's boy. Joe Biden's boy who did that against busing. Listen, we need to move past that because they're taking us for granted. So for the last 20 years, what have they done since that? Just the 2000s. Hell, the last 20 years, what have they done? We'll go a little further.
The Trump people are doing it again. We're going to get 30%. I mean, talk about how you hear this year in and year out, and it just never comes to fruition for Republicans.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, Joe. You know, I don't understand why these platitudes that get thrown out there by Trump and others, especially some of his sycophants, are these people who really carry a message that we all know.
Did he say, why are these platitudes thrown out here? Joe Biden don't ever say anything except platitudes. Hey, man, I be listening to Trump speeches. He say a lot of stuff. It ain't just platitudes. A lot of it be wrong, but it don't be a bunch of platitudes. There's never been a time, never been a people that's ever been who are like America. This is the greatness of America over Shining Hill as we all gather together. Do what the rest, man. As we all strive together to do the thing we did, and as Americans, and my son, my dad, and we used to say Joey, Jimmy, what's my name, Joe? We used to say Joey. You don't vote for me, you ain't black. Democratic Party is the epicenter. The qualm. Remember that, Cuba Gooding Jr.? The qualm of platitudes. They are the word salad party. Whether from it's Amy Klobuchar or Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris ain't nothing but a walking platitude. See, Clyburn is doing whatever you say about me is what I'm going to say about you. That's what we doing. At the end of this, it's going to be a test, Black Americans. I want to know what the Democrat Party did to earn your vote. I want to know what it was. And if you say school, he wiped out my school debt, I'm smacking you. You ain't been in school. You ain't in school. My son still got his debt. His girlfriend still got her debt.
Where it emanates from, why they seem to think that that's Bible, that is what is going to happen.
Man, yo, the reason why, it's just like anything else, guys. The reason why the black vote is going to go to Donald Trump at about 30 points. It's for a very simple reason. Democrats take it for granted. Smearing Donald Trump, calling him a felon. I bet you someone protested that. They're not going to be saying that much lately. They said it a lot when he first got convicted. Then they saw it moved one digit. But the negatives went up because a lot of people in America, particularly the people that they want to vote for them, know somebody who's been through the prison system, the mass incarceration system. That's why it's called mass incarceration. So after protesting, they realized everybody coming out all at once saying, he a felon, that ain't played so well. It only gave them 1 point up, but the disapprovals got higher. Right now, Joe Biden is the most disapproved president in the last 30 years. I would like to say forever. I don't want to go that far. But I say at least in the last 30 years. Okay? The reason why Donald Trump is getting so much of the black vote, he already set a record of the last 30 years, last election. Only a dummy thinks he's going to do less numbers than he did last election. What do you have, like 8, 10, 8, 12%? Between 8 and 12? I forget. You know how much of the black vote Mitt Romney got? Like 2. 2. So, I'm saying. He ran in 2016. He ran in 2020. The numbers are going this way. They're going this way. And why are they going this way? Because you ain't handling your business at home, dog. Because, baby, you don't cook no more dinner. You stopped cooking. You threw a Popeye in my ass and said, have a good night. And then you went out with your girls. That's why my coworker looks so cute nowadays. Okay? It ain't rocket science, man. And this goes for everybody. Look, by the way, I focus a lot on black folks. Oh, look at me. But hey, it's everybody. Quiet as it's kept, I saw a report that said women in general are moving towards Trump. Not just white women. Women in general are moving away from Biden. Maybe they don't like the whole Gaza thing. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not certain. The Latino vote, which I think is kind of bogus because everybody who's not black, who's not white, from a Latin American country or whatever, they ain't all together. But okay, fine. They tied too. Asian voters are less likely now, or more moving towards Trump than they did last election. Everybody's moving less towards Biden. He's down in every column, except older white voters, for some reason. That's the only place it seems that it's getting any traction. Biden is older white voters. How you gonna lose the young vote, man? When I say lose, I'm not saying lose. What I mean is lose ground. I don't think Trump is going to beat Biden in the black vote department. What I'm saying is he's going to do better than he did in 2016 and in 2020. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying Trump is going to win the Latino vote, but it's usually 55-45. That might flip a little. That may get closer to 50-50. That's what the polls say. That ain't what I'm saying. It's what the data says. Now, if we're going to say, forget the data, I'm just going to come outside, stick my nose out the window, and see what the air smells like, and that's how I'm going to determine how things are going. Well, I'm going to go down to the Piggly Wiggly and see somebody at the deli counter and ask them. And if they say they like Joe, that's what we're going with. And we can either look at numbers or we can look at numbers. We can look at, I saw a tortoise was crossing the road. And I said, hey, tortoise, my name's Jim Clyburn. Are you a vote Joe Biden supporter, or do you want me to run your ass over? That tortoise, he looked at me, I looked at him. He knew I'd meant business. He said, Joe Biden is my man. See, right there. That's your proof. Coming up, people with all your numbers and polls and talking to people. I talked to a tortoise. That tortoise didn't lie to me. Why would a tortoise lie to me? Uh-oh. Is that, oh God. Here we go, y'all. Tell you we're gonna have fun tonight. What I tell you, they playing in your face. Already know Al Sharpton and Jim Clyburn, folks, they are afraid. These people are afraid, Johnson. When you get this many, I'm trying to watch my language. When you get them on the same show, it's a reason. Pull out the big guns, water guns.
You before you went to Congress, you and your wife came out of the civil rights movement that really helped us to gain in your very young years the Voting Rights Act. And a lot of this race, I spoke last night in Miramar, Florida, a lot of this race is not about two older white men fighting in a retirement home about who's the best. It's not whose side we're on, but who's on our side. And I think that what you can outline to our viewers is the difference, the contrast in what Trump has stood for. I mean, we lost affirmative action under him. Voting rights has been hurt. And what Biden has been able to do. People don't vote for whose side they're on, it's who's on their side.
Yes, and let me tell you something. 2 words that can sum up both sides of this issue. Joe Biden offers freedom. Freedom to vote.
You hear that? You hear what he just said? Joe Biden offers freedom. Man,
niggas, freedom.
They're playing in your face. Man, if there's a respectable black person watching this and you hear him talk that shit, Joe Biden gonna give you freedom papers. Hey, Joe Biden will set you free.
That's some cool.
That's right. Joe Biden gonna set you free.
He offer you freedom. What? What the hell are you
Donald Trump gonna have you in chains.
Kool-Aid, nigga.
He gonna put you back in chains. You know, that's an actual quote. Joe Biden actually said that out of his mouth in a black church.
Unchain Wall Street. They're gonna put you all back in chains.
They gonna put
talking about Republicans.
Look how he said it with his southern racist. They gonna put y'all's back in chains. He know what he doing. That man is the devil.
Republicans, you don't want them. They'll put you back in chains. When you effectively
wants to be free,
scare the hell out of people, telling them that it's their way or a noose. Yeah, you might get more votes that way.
Happy with a lot of you who are out of his age group are considered younger people. Of course, the 65 plus crowd is more so his people. Even people you can say who are even just maybe they're saying past 55 or leaning toward what Clyburn is thinking. So he's more so speaking about that group that's 18 to under 50. That's the group he's speaking to, more so the Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. I know you got some people who are, maybe barely over 50 that's in Gen X, but that's most of who he's about to talk to. So if you see on the screen, Clyburn is saying here, older black voters need to talk some sense into Trump-inclined children. Boy, Clyburn is not happy with a lot of you right now. So let's get into that. So Clyburn is urging black elders to tell the young black voters to cast their ballots for President Biden in November. Clyburn, did you see the debate, sir? Did you see this man bumbling over his words? Did you see this man look like he was about to trip and fall? Like, come on. Aside from what he has been doing while he's in office and the younger voters are suffering, but let's continue. Clyburn, they said the Biden campaign's 2024 co-chair, has said that older black Americans should try to talk some sense into their children. So I guess we ain't got no sense. Our grandmothers, our aunties, and uncles got to talk some sense into all of us. Okay. Clyburn's comments come as polls show Biden struggling with younger black voters, and as a growing number of black men indicate that they may support former President Trump come November. Young black voters are specifically disappointed in the administration's response to the war in Gaza. It said, meanwhile, concerns over the economy, criminal justice reform, and voting rights are also a top of the mind concerns for black voters more broadly. But Clyburn appeared shocked by the notion that any black voter will support Trump, who recently claimed that he has done more for black people than anyone else, he said, except possibly President Lincoln. He said, if you believe that, your parents should have sent their mule to school and kept you at home, said Clyburn. He added that if black voters do throw their support behind Trump in November, the former president will undoubtedly win. Yes, we know that. This is why they're, they putting out the Onyx Impact put out the report about Black online disinformation because, people just lie, and it's a lie to me, saying that we're doing disinformation online. And no, people, let me tell you something why Biden is losing, Clyburn. If you're listening, because I know you're listening. So Clyburn, listen. The reason why Biden is losing, set aside what we saw last night. Biden is losing because of kitchen table issues. What are kitchen table issues? Food prices, gas prices, extremely high insurance prices, where there's health insurance, car insurance, etc., right? Rent prices, the prices of vehicles, inflation, high interest rates, so people can't afford to buy homes, kitchen table issues. That's what's killing the younger people in the area of their finance, and they're paying more attention to that. And the younger people remember, man, during Trump, we didn't have these problems because Trump wasn't a president 12 years ago. He was president 4 years ago. That's not that long ago. And people want that Trump economy back. That's really what it is. Now, he continued to say, we may be back into Jim Crow again. Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Oh, Jim Crow. Yes. Donald Trump is going to put us back in Jim Crow. Like, bro, that doesn't work, Clyburn. Clyburn, you can say that all day long about Trump. It's not working. So let's continue. It say Clyburn said younger voters, it said, may be enamored with Trump, in part because older Black Americans have not spoke about what they endured before and during the civil rights movement. Yes, they have. My grandmother and grandfather told me exactly what they went through. They told me from one aspect to the next. You understand what I'm saying? I know exactly what my family went through during the civil rights movement. Why you act like we don't know? Like we don't talk to our families. I still talk to older brothers and sisters when I meet them in the street and ask them questions about what was going on during Jim Crow, what happened during segregation, and different things like that, right? So I could learn to help me, be a better commentator on these issues. I'm constantly trying to learn. So we are talking to the elders in our community. And a lot of the elders in our community, a lot of them have said, you know what? We really thought, that this was the way to go, but we're seeing that it didn't work. So you young people are doing something different. There's older people saying that. Now let's continue. He said, I know what I had to go through. I know what I saw my parents go through. He said he had the indignities. He said that my mother and father, he said, had to endure so I could be where I'm at today and need to be shared with the younger generation. He said, if I see and hear from a candidate that they want to go bring those indignities back to the process, I've got an obligation to sit with these children of mine and say, what the hell are you thinking about? Okay, Clyburn. Once again, you think these young people would allow any candidate to reinstitute Jim Crow? It'd be Kenya over here right now. I promise you that. It'd be, please. But see, the reason why Clyburn cannot talk to young people. Let me play Clyburn's greatest hits real quick to remind you why Clyburn cannot speak to no younger Black voters whatsoever. Let's cue that up.
If you wait on cash payments to come out of reparations, you're going to wait forever. It's not going to happen. So what you got to do, let me talk. Don't put that in my face.
Why are you touching me?
Okay, all right. I'm going to leave you alone.
Cut the check. Tell Nancy Pelosi to cut the check.
Yeah.
You do that for me?
She's the treasurer.
Cut the check. Somebody better cut the check.
I'm doing well. Listen, but I gotta go. But I appreciate the fist fight and everything. I did want to ask though. Reparations is a big thing.
Reparations is big with me. I'm the only one doing the bill. Why y'all keep fucking with me on that? I'm the only one doing the bill. It's my bill.
Which bill?
The reparations bill. Okay. I've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years. And it's been around for 38. So why y'all keep telling me about a bill that's been there for 38 years?
You want to know if you support reparations?
I'm sorry?
You want to know if you support reparations?
I support reparations rather than that name. Y'all need to learn what reparations is. Y'all keep talking about a word. It means to repair.
It's cash payments.
Hell no. You never get it.
Why not? That's why we need your support. You got a lot of power.
You will never get it.
You have a lot of leverage.
Let me ask you a question.
You get our support. We've been dedicated to you for a very long time.
Will you listen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If you are mulatto and you are allowed to get an education, and this person is not allowed to get an education, how will you measure which one to do what?
I was allowed to get an education, but I'm still.
That's not the point. You're talking about the law. You're talking about the law. You're talking about my wife, whose grandfather was white, and therefore her mother could get educated, but her daddy was African. And how do you measure that?
But Africans get educated now. You should go Africans getting educated right now.
We're living in Africa.
You live in America.
I know you got more sense than I got. I understand that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that right there is why he can't talk to younger black voters. He can't, because he is standing in the way of reparations. He don't support it. Remember, he said, hell no, you're not going to get it. So he can't. This is why he told other people who are in his age group to talk to your grandchildren, to talk to your nieces and nephews, because he can't do it. He has no credibility with younger black voters. See, we like to let people know and show people why. We don't just like to say things about people here. So Clyburn, if they vote for Trump, at this point, if they choose the couch, at this point, I mean, what really do they got to lose either way? They don't have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose. And Clyburn, that's your fault, because you've been in Congress for a very long time, at least since the 90s. You've been in Congress, and you have not delivered for black people in South Carolina and for black people all over the country. Maybe if you have it delivered for black people, we would be listening to you. But you have not done that, sir. You have not done that. So with that being said, Clyburn, this is what happens when you turn your back on Black America and you sit up here and embrace the Democrats and embrace their policies and their ways. And we know the Democrat policy is not to make the Black American whole. We know this. The Democrats is about everybody else but Black America. You understand? And we see that based on y'all policies and what y'all push, who you protect, who you promote. That's all it is to it. So see what happens when you don't make Black America the priority. Listen, you could do for everybody. I have no problem with you doing for everybody. Most Black Americans don't have a problem with y'all doing for everybody. But when y'all say for everybody, it never includes Black Americans. And then when Black Americans say you didn't do nothing specifically for us, you tell us functions of government is for us, right? You say, well, I made sure internet was in rural areas, where most black people live in rural areas too much anyway. Maybe a few of us in the country, but not many. Okay, but that's a function of government. We pay taxes for you to take care of infrastructure. Internet's part of infrastructure. Well, we're going to upgrade the airports with the infrastructure bill. Once again, that's a function of government to make sure our airports are right. How are you going to say that's for us when everybody and their mama use the airport? That's not for us. And that's not for us specifically. You understand what I'm saying? So you fix the power line. Well, I fixed the power lines, and that benefit black people. You have lights at your house. Well, everybody's lights gonna be on that's in that coverage area. That's a function of government. Stop trying to tell us a function of government is for black people. No. You know how you do it? Just like this. See, when you do something specifically for a group of people, this is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it looks like right there. See, he did when he signed this bill, it wasn't for everybody. It wasn't a function of government. It was specific to Asian Americans. And that's what we're talking about. Specific for Black Americans, ladies and gentlemen. And don't let them use functions of government to try to gaslight you to say they doing something for black people. He said we need the same thing done for us like the Asian American community. It's just that simple. We need our anti-black hate crime bill. And you always throw that back up in their face. He said because at that time, you could have added us to that bill if you wanted to, and it'd have been fine. We'd have been cool with that. No issue, no problem. But you don't want black Americans to be protected in this country because you know good and well it become mass incarceration of them folks the moment we get that kind of protection in this country. And you surely don't want mass incarceration of the folks. So Clyburn, that's you blowing high at this point. Nobody's paying attention to you. You have no standing with younger black voters. You just don't, because you, sir, with your greatest hits that we played earlier, it's just kind of ruined it with younger people. Sorry. I think Biden picked the wrong person to be on his campaign because
And we got to talk about MSDNC because they are in panic mode and trying to do some coping and lying, you know. So we're going to dive into that a little bit today because I just find it funny that, well, I guess if I say this, it's going to say a little too much, but we'll hop into this video clip and I'm going to show you guys what I wanted to speak about here in just 1 second. But I do want to thank you guys for all of the continued love and support. Thank you guys for sharing all of these videos, liking, commenting. I greatly appreciate it because without you, the message doesn't get out to the masses. Obviously, I can only do so much. I don't have like a magic button that sends this video out to everyone. If I did, I'd be pressing the crap out of that button. Like it would no longer work by this point. Trust me, because I would love for America to, see and hear the same things that I've seen and heard throughout my journey on discovering the truth about all of this. Because I think if all of America got to hear all of this, most of America would vote Republican, without a doubt. But that's just my humble opinion. Now, let's dive in.
I actually think that this is a phenomenon that needs to be better understood. I think that the behavior of Black voters, even in just polls right now, is quite interesting. It's something I'm trying to get at in my reporting. I think the answer is that we don't know everything yet, and we'll certainly find out more in November. You know, my instinct is, first of all, that people forget. I mean, Black voters are just like all voters. They too can be susceptible to disinformation campaigns. Black men, especially, because there is a divide, by the way, in this polling in behavior between Black men and women and, their interest in Donald Trump. Black men may be attracted to Trumpism more than Black women. That would be consistent with white voters as well. So that's another parallel to look at. I do think that this idea that there's going to be a wave of Black voters voting for Donald Trump is highly unlikely because Black Americans know that Donald Trump is a racist. And so I think that's something they understand implicitly.
Salute, Queen.
See, I'm sorry, guys. I had to stop the video because I have to address that. This whole notion that Trump is the racist, right? Let's say they are right. Okay, which they aren't. They always point to the same two instances, the Central Park 5 and the housing whatever situation. And those two things have been addressed time and time again. But for those that haven't heard it, I'll quickly address those now. The Central Park 5, they admitted to the crime at first. And yes, of course, Trump, just like everybody else, would be angry. That had nothing to do with him being Black, nor did he state that in any type of statement. Oh, yeah, I don't like these guys because they're Black. No, never talked about them being Black, not one time. The housing situation, he didn't want to have government-assisted individuals living in the building. So when you want to speak about that, that has nothing to do with anybody being Black either. If anything, the Democrats who want to claim that he was putting that on Black people are the racist ones because they just assumed that Black people are on housing assistance. So yeah, there's that. But then also, they never want to talk about Joe Biden. They never want to talk about how Joe Biden stood on stage just last year and called LL Cool J boy. And I bring that up because if Trump had done that, they would be talking about that to the end of time. If Trump had stood on stage and called the black man boy, they would talk about it like every single day on a loop. But nobody said anything. They don't talk about how Joe Biden called black kids roaches. They don't talk about how Joe Biden called black people super predators. They don't talk about how Joe Biden used to hang out with a K group member all the time and gave the eulogy at the man's funeral. They don't want to talk about this stuff, but all of a sudden Trump is racist. That's bullshit. Excuse my language, but it is. And I'm getting sick and tired of this stupid narrative. Oh, Trump the bad guy, Trump the bad guy. But they don't ever want to talk about Joe Biden. Even Kamala Harris, when they were debating, brought it up. Joe Biden didn't want to desegregate busing. She brought that up too. But nobody wants to bring that up. But, oh, Trump racist. Come on, stop it with this nonsense. We're not buying it. And that's why their ratings are absolutely garbage. This is a company that is backed by millions upon millions of dollars. And me, myself, right? Just me. I don't have like a crew of individuals here with me, helping me create this stuff or put it together, giving me teleprompters, and I got news reporters out on the streets for me. Like, no, it's literally just me. And I could pull almost just as many views as them. Why is that? Come on now. Stop it with the BS, but carry on.
At the same time, I also wonder if the Biden campaign's consistent messaging overall about the strength of the economy, especially, and how good things are, while that may be true on Wall Street and the indicators, the economy looks strong, Black Americans in their daily lives aren't always feeling that. So when they don't hear their concerns and their lives and their interests represented in that campaign, it does, I believe, just talking to voters, it really does trigger this sense that they are being left behind, that they are being taken for granted. And I think the Biden campaign and Democrats in general are going to have to work harder this time to get that base to turn out.
We don't want lip service. And that's all you've given us. That's all the Democrat Party has ever given us is lip service. Lip service. Oh yeah. Can any, matter of fact, perfect example. Can anybody tell me what Democrats are running on? Like what policies, that Democrats are going to I'm talking like Joe Biden. What policies will Democrats be implementing and Joe Biden be implementing in his next 4 years that will make American lives better? Can anybody tell me? Exactly. Nobody can. Nobody can. It's always Trump bad, Trump racist. Oh, black people, what are you guys doing? Return back home. As if we're like slaves to the Democrat Party or something. Oh, we must be misinformed if we don't want to toe the line for the Democrat Party. That's basically what you just said. We have been presented with too much misinformation, so that is why we don't want to toe the line. That's why we don't want to bow down and kiss the ring of the Democrat Party anymore. We've been lied to. It's never, it's funny how that works. Whenever you break free, it's always, oh, you guys are misinformed. Oh, you guys are stupid. Oh, you guys are this and that. It's never, oh, well, maybe we were bad. Maybe your party is trash. Do you guys think Democrats have just ever considered that? Maybe we are terrible.
Used to be a lifelong Democrat for years, but the Democrat Party got so far away from what my values are, especially as a Christian. I'm for God, I'm for my family, and they just got so far away from it. I served my country as a Marine for 21 years, and my wife's Navy for 23 and a half years. How are you going to not step up for the people who are defending you? So that's why.
Thank you for your service. You and your wife's service. Great, sir. You know, but then it's also, check out this young lady here.
I'm not even going to hold you. I had to record it because I was so mad the first time I recorded this. I was cussing and doing all the things. So let me try to keep it P, okay? But if Trump gets reelected and somehow can't repair the relationship, Democrats will still blame Trump. Yet, let me explain something to y'all.
She gets
because the math ain't math in a lot of y'all mind. This man was president for 4 years. That means he was in politics for 4 years. That was it. Joe Biden been in politics for 50 years. Kamala Harris, I think maybe 20. All these other people, numerous years, except for the new babies, right? And they trying to do something, but God bless them. They're deflecting. This man was 4 years, and y'all hate him so bad. Why? Y'all don't hate Mitch McConnell and all these other motherfuckers that's been in there for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years.
We know why.
You all don't hate Nancy Pelosi. Oh, she did so much for us. Yeah, like make $140 million for her and her family while you all are still living in squalor.
Talk that talk.
But, it's all Trump's fault, though.
Let's talk about it.
Trump. Hate on Trump. You got rappers like Plies talking about Trump. I love the new I think I know politics people. Ain't read a book since a book read them. Okay, well, let me get off this.
I love the new I think I know politics people. Ain't read a book since a book read them. Ooh, I'm still in that. Shout out to her. If y'all know who she is, shout her out in the comments. Matter of fact, let me see if I can see a name on this. No. Unless it's young and motivated. I doubt that's her though. I don't see it. But if anybody knows who she is, comment her down below. I want to give her a shout out for sure. She knows. She's most definitely in the know. But according to MSDNC, she's been fed too much misinformation. Even though the Biden administration just came out this past week and said all the videos of Joe Biden looking feeble and weak are fake. It's misinformation. Yeah. The misinformation gurus are telling us something that is obviously real is fake. Now, granted, I'm happy to report that most people aren't buying it, and I showed you guys the comment section of that video when I made that video where I can't remember. Was it NBC? I can't remember who it was, what news organization it was, but one of them, was trying to say that it was fake news and they were trying to debunk it. Which is hilarious. They were trying to debunk the video clips, and in their own comment section, people were roasting them. I didn't see, and I showed you guys the comment section. I didn't see not one comment where somebody was like, come on, guys, they're right. This is misinformation. No, not one. Not one. They're all like, oh, you're lying. Oh, well, here goes mainstream media lying for Joe Biden. Oh, stop it with the nonsense, all types of comments like those. Okay. But yeah, it's never, or I should say it's always, something wrong with the voters when we don't fall in line. It's never something is wrong with your party, which is why we are leaving. But hey, I won't complain. That's just more people for the Republican Party, baby. So they can continue on with their little BS line of misinformation and that whole sort of thing. And it's not happening, even though we see it happening. That's just more people that will be continuing to leave the Democrat Party and come over to the Republican side of the political aisle because they're waking more and more people up to the truth. The more that they try to lie. And, they had an opportunity. This is the crazy part. Now I'll get you guys out of here. This is the crazy part. They had an opportunity to turn it around. Unfortunately, but if we're being honest, they had an opportunity because up until, a few years ago, people still believed them. Okay. They still believed them. So they had an opportunity to let off the reins a little bit and hold on to their power, but they just couldn't. They couldn't help themselves. They wanted more. They wanted to grab more. Okay. And so in that pursuit of more power and grabbing more power, they've made all of this charade so cartoonish that it's not even believable, even a little bit anymore. To the few people that were believing it, I was just like, hold on, wait, Trump is 34 felony counts? I thought it was only like one thing. And that was like the statute of limitations had run out on it. Hillary Clinton did the same thing, allegedly, right? That Trump did, and she only was fined, but Trump is 34 felony counts. And I spoke about this before. Like, if they just would have gone after Trump for like one little small thing, right? One little thing. That's it. Not attacked him left, right, and center. Not made it so the mainstream media was super biased against him, but just attacked him on one thing. They might have gotten away with it. If I'm being completely honest, they probably would have, because not enough people would have woken up to see, like, bro, this is crap. This is a load of crap. This is BS. Like, these charges are totally garbage, right? In my humble opinion, y'all can let me know if y'all feel the same way in the comment section, but I do feel like a lot of people have woken up because of how extreme they have gotten with all of this. I feel like that's a huge reason why a lot of people have woken up, because it's so extreme. And I showed you guys a video clip of a young lady saying the exact same thing. It just got so cartoonish that it was hard to like not be awoken by, you know, the BS. But hey, y'all let me know what you thought about this in the comment section.
Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, in an interesting twist, have all decided to join BRICS. Since they left the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and expelled French forces from their territories, they have gained the ability to make independent decisions that benefit their countries without facing external obstacles. Recent reports from Burkina Faso suggest that terrorism has significantly decreased since cutting ties with France. Additionally, Niger has emerged as the fastest growing economy in Africa since severing its connections with France. Last night, I dedicated a substantial amount of time to researching the current revolutionary situation in these African countries to gain a deeper understanding of their new leaders and their plans following the severance of ties with Western countries. I was genuinely amazed by my findings. This is where Russia and BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa come into play. The potential involvement of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in joining BRICS with assistance from Russia is of significant interest. These countries shift away from Western influence, and their alignment with alternative geopolitical blocs such as BRICS could lead to considerable changes in their economic and political landscapes. By distancing themselves from Western powers, these nations are seeking to establish new partnerships that align with their development goals and sovereignty. The reduction in terrorism reported in Burkina Faso, alongside Niger's economic growth, suggests that these moves are beginning to yield positive outcomes. Engagement with BRICS could provide these countries with new avenues for economic development, trade, and investment, reducing their dependence on Western aid and influence. Additionally, Russia's involvement could bring about strategic military and political support, further stabilizing these nations and helping them achieve their national objectives. To ensure a better understanding, let me start from the very beginning. It is no secret that BRICS is on track to eliminate the US dollar in all of its global trade and transactions by the end of 2024. The bloc aims to prioritize local currencies over the US dollar to strengthen their native economies and businesses. The alliance is also convincing other developing countries to follow suit and settle payments in local currencies for cross-border transactions. This strategy is expected to enhance the value and stability of these countries' currencies, strengthening them significantly against the dollar. By adopting local currencies for international trade, BRICS nations seek to reduce their dependence on the US dollar, thereby mitigating the influence of US monetary policy on their economies. This move could boost the economic growth of developing nations, propelling them towards greater prosperity. The full implementation of this initiative is estimated to have a significant impact on the value of the US dollar, potentially leading to a substantial decline. Such a decline could have far-reaching implications for the geopolitical and socio-economic influence of the United States on the global stage. Some experts have likened this potential shift to a severe blow to the United States, prompting concerns from the US and European Union about the broader ramifications. Additionally, there are ongoing discussions about the involvement of various nations in the BRICS group and the potential effects on their economies. Specifically, there are questions about whether Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger will choose to join BRICS and how that decision might unfold. If these countries align with BRICS, they could benefit from stronger economic ties and increased political support from the bloc. Now, as we all know, the West African countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are home to abundant reserves of valuable minerals that play a crucial role in the evolving global economy. Burkina Faso stands as the fourth largest producer of gold in Africa, contributing significantly to the continent's gold output. Mali, on the other hand, achieved a remarkable gold production of 66.2 tons in 2022, further solidifying its position as a key player in the global gold market. Meanwhile, Niger holds the distinction of being the seventh largest producer of uranium worldwide, boasting high-grade ore that is in high demand. Gold is increasingly being recognized as a reliable store of value in a world that is moving away from its heavy reliance on the US dollar. The strategic importance of gold is growing as countries and investors seek safe havens for their wealth amidst global economic uncertainties. For Burkina Faso and Mali, their substantial gold reserves present an opportunity to leverage this asset for economic stability and growth. Uranium, on the other hand, is set to power the growing global demand for clean energy through nuclear power. As the world shifts towards sustainable energy sources to combat climate change, Niger's uranium reserves become even more critical. The high-grade uranium ore from Niger is essential for nuclear power plants, which are increasingly being seen as a viable option for reducing carbon emissions and providing a reliable source of clean energy. The geopolitical significance of these mineral resources is underscored by recent diplomatic engagements. On January 29, 2024, the Prime Minister of Niger, Ali Mohamed Lounes, warmly welcomed a substantial delegation from the BRICS group. This meeting highlights the growing interest of BRICS nations in the mineral wealth of West Africa and their potential role in fostering economic development and strategic partnerships in the region. The involvement of BRICS could lead to increased investments in mining infrastructure, technology transfer, and better market access for these countries' mineral exports. This high-profile meeting underscores the growing attention and commitment of BRICS countries towards Niger, a nation with abundant natural resources despite being landlocked. The substantive discussions revolved around the consolidation of economic and trade ties between Niger and the BRICS member states, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Of particular focus were potential collaborations in the mining, agriculture, energy, and transport infrastructure sectors. Niger is keenly interested in advancing its transport infrastructure, recognizing its pivotal role in driving economic progress. BRICS, renowned for their expertise and substantial resources in this domain, are well positioned to play a pivotal role in bolstering Niger's infrastructure development. Improving transport infrastructure is crucial for landlocked countries like Niger to facilitate trade, enhance connectivity, and promote overall economic development. Currently, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali have formed an alliance called AES, Alliance of Sahel States, which makes them appear as a unified entity. This suggests that if Niger becomes part of BRICS, Burkina Faso and Mali would likely be involved as well, given their close political and economic ties. The integration of these countries into BRICS could lead to a significant boost in their economic development through increased investments, technology transfer, and enhanced trade relations. On January 28, 2024, the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger made a significant announcement regarding their country's membership in the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. they jointly declared their decision to withdraw from the regional bloc, signaling a shift towards forming new alliances that better align with their national interests and development goals. This move highlights their desire for greater autonomy and strategic partnerships that can offer more substantial economic benefits and support their sovereignty. The potential involvement of these countries in BRICS could transform the geopolitical and economic landscape of West Africa. Due to what they deemed inhumane sanctions imposed by ECOWAS following the coups that brought them to power, the leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger simultaneously broadcasted a joint statement on state television in all three countries. The statement announced their decision to withdraw from ECOWAS, asserting their complete sovereignty over the matter. They criticized ECOWAS for allegedly deviating from the noble ideals of its founding fathers and the principles of Pan-Africanism, which the bloc had upheld for nearly 50 years. The leaders contended that ECOWAS, under external influence, had strayed from its mission to ensure the well-being of its member states and their populations. In response to this announcement, ECOWAS issued a statement expressing that it had not been formally notified of the decision by the three countries to leave the bloc. ECOWAS emphasized that its protocol stipulates a withdrawal process that takes up to 1 year to complete. The bloc underscored the importance of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali within the community and reiterated its commitment to seeking a negotiated solution to the ongoing political challenges. ECOWAS, a 15-nation bloc formed in 1975, has historically been considered West Africa's premier political and regional authority. However, the organization has faced significant challenges to its credibility in recent years. This was particularly evident during the Niger crisis of 2023, when President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted in a coup that garnered widespread support from the citizens of Niger. Instead of diligently exploring all available political avenues to resolve the impasse, ECOWAS seemed to echo the imperialistic and confrontational demands of colonial powers, which exacerbated tensions and demonstrated a lack of sensitivity to the local population's aspirations. It was only after Russia and allied nations like Mali and Burkina Faso threatened retaliatory action that ECOWAS retracted its plans to intervene militarily in Niger. In the aftermath of these events, former French colonies swiftly terminated their military partnerships with France and withdrew from existing colonial agreements with European nations, turning instead to Russia for support. This shift in alliances prompted the three Sahel nations to enter into a mutual defense pact and establish the AES following the signing of the Liptako-Gourma Charter in 2023. The charter, named after the historical region of Liptako-Gourma, received extensive coverage in the media. The three nations insinuated that ECOWAS had remained inactive when terrorists, operating under Western-supported regimes, perpetrated daily massacres of their citizens. They claimed that their assumption of power stemmed from their inability to witness their people endure relentless and needless suffering and loss of life due to preventable terrorist activities, which they alleged were advantageous to the West. They accused the West of displaying sympathy towards terrorists and questioned their commitment to combating terrorism. Additionally, they expressed perplexity at ECOWAS's sudden vocal stance and imposition of sanctions aimed at harming their citizens, suggesting that this response only came due to demands from France, Europe, and America. They deemed this stance unacceptable, indicating that it signified the impossibility of safeguarding their interests within ECOWAS, given the predominant influence of the West over the regional bloc. Consequently, they announced their decision to permanently withdraw from ECOWAS. Regarding the difference between this pact and the military cooperation pact of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, signed months ago amidst ECOWAS threats, Mali's defense minister explained to journalists that the new alliance will be a combination of military and economic efforts between the three countries. He emphasized that their priority is to fight against terrorism in the three countries. Moving forward, Russia has made significant investments in Mali and Burkina Faso, leading to substantial geopolitical shifts in the region, such as the expulsion of French soldiers from Mali in 2022 and the withdrawal of UN forces in 2023. Burkina Faso has followed suit, and Niger has also taken similar steps, except for the expulsion of French forces. Russia's presence in Mali and Burkina Faso is substantial, encompassing both military and economic dimensions. Even in Niger, Russia had to provide military and economic assistance, including the deployment of Wagner Group forces through Mali, as the country has evolved into a significant Russian ally in the Sahel region. However, despite Russia's support for Niger, it pales in comparison to the extensive existing infrastructure and influence they possess in both Mali and Burkina Faso. Moscow has therefore encouraged these three nations to cooperate closely, forming a symbiotic relationship where any military and economic initiatives driven or funded by Russia in Mali and Burkina Faso would yield mutual benefits for Niger. French military personnel, who had access to crucial information on the ground in Mali and Niger before their departure, influenced the decision to leave, despite staying silent on the matter. The recent agreement will require them to acknowledge and address the factors that led to their withdrawal. Russia's substantial military presence in the Sahel region, particularly in Mali and Niger, has been granted unrestricted operational freedom in Niger, similar to its activities in Mali. This includes the direct deployment of certain military equipment from Russia to Niger, bypassing the previous route through Mali. As a result, Russia now holds comparable access to Niger as it does to Mali and Burkina Faso, effectively solidifying the integration of the Sahel Trinity. As BRICS embarks on charting a new economic course for its member states to replace the dominant Western economic models, it is anticipated that the new Sahel bloc will eventually align itself with the BRICS economic framework. Consequently, there may be reduced reliance on institutions such as ECOWAS, the African Union, or any other regional blocs historically associated with serving the interests of the Western world. This shift is occurring as the once dominant Western influence on the continent appears to be diminishing, indicating a significant transformation in the geopolitical and economic landscape of the region. In any case, we would appreciate your feedback on this topic. If you find our content valuable, we encourage you to
The US dollar was backed by gold, adhering to the Bretton Woods system established in 1944, which fixed the dollar to gold at $35 per ounce. However, in 1971, President Richard Nixon ended this convertibility due to increasing economic pressures, including a trade deficit, inflation, and depleting gold reserves. This move, known as the Nixon shock, effectively transitioned the US dollar to a fiat currency not backed by physical gold. Nevertheless, the US has maintained significant gold reserves since then. Recently, there has been a global trend of increasing gold reserves as countries seek to diversify away from reliance on the US dollar. This shift is partly driven by concerns over dollar stability and geopolitical tensions. BRICS blocs, and particularly China, India, and Russia, have notably increased their gold holdings. This in addition to their de-dollarization efforts. This trend impacts global gold prices, often pushing them higher as demand increases. Gold's value typically rises during periods of economic uncertainty and high inflation, as investors and central banks alike turn to it as a stable store of value. The relationship between gold prices and the US dollar remains significant, with gold often seen as a hedge against dollar volatility. In this video, we explore the recent global shift toward increasing gold reserves and examine how this trend impacts the relationship between gold prices and the US dollar. We delve into the reasons behind various countries' moves to diversify their reserves away from the US dollar. Additionally, we analyze how gold prices typically respond to fluctuations in the US dollar. Gold price rise and its impact on US dollar. Over the past 2 years, central banks worldwide have significantly increased their gold reserves. This trend is part of a broader strategy to diversify assets and ensure financial stability amid economic uncertainties. In 2022 and 2023, central banks globally purchased record amounts of gold, with net acquisitions reaching 1,082 tons and 1,037 tons respectively. This marks the highest levels of gold purchasing since the 1960s. In the first quarter of 2024 alone, central banks bought 290 tons of gold, setting a new record for the start of the year. Several countries have been prominent in these acquisitions. India moved 100 tons of gold back from England to its domestic reserves and purchased an additional 69 tons. China was the largest buyer in 2023, adding 314 tons to its reserves, Poland increased its gold holdings by 130 tons between April and November 2023, reaching a total of 359 tons. Singapore added 77 tons, bringing its total to 230 tons. The Czech Republic purchased 19 tons, the highest annual addition on record for the country, totaling 31 tons now. This surge in gold purchasing has driven gold prices to historic highs. The increase in demand for gold as a stable investment reflects concerns over global economic stability, inflation, and geopolitical tensions. Central banks are prioritizing gold for its safety, liquidity, and return characteristics, viewing it as a crucial asset for maintaining reserve security. In 2023, emerging market central banks led the charge in gold buying, motivated by the desire to reduce reliance on the US dollar and other fiat currencies. This is part of a broader strategy to hedge against currency risks and global economic volatility. The trend of substantial gold buying by central banks is expected to continue, albeit potentially at a slightly reduced pace compared to the past 2 record-breaking years. Nevertheless, the role of gold in central bank reserves remains significant, underscoring its importance as a hedge against uncertainty. The significance of gold in the global economy was notably highlighted by the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. This agreement was pivotal in establishing a new international monetary system post World War II. At that time, the United States emerged as the dominant economic power, holding 75% of the world's monetary gold. Consequently, 44 countries agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which was itself backed by gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. The Bretton Woods system created a framework for international economic cooperation and stability. It led to the establishment of key financial institutions, including the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which continue to play crucial roles in global finance. The agreement aimed to avoid the economic pitfalls of the interwar period, such as competitive devaluations and trade barriers, by ensuring stable exchange rates and promoting economic growth. Under the Bretton Woods system, the US dollar's role as a global reserve currency was solidified, facilitating international trade and economic stability. This system remained in place until 1971, when the US ended the convertibility of the dollar to gold, transitioning to the modern era of floating exchange rates. Let's take a quick pause. Could you do us a favor? If you enjoy our content, please hit the like button. To help even more, leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments. To show even more support for our activities, please watch the entire video. We really appreciate it. Your engagement helps us grow. Thank you. Current reasons for increasing gold prices. Following the Russia-Ukraine war, the United States and its allies froze approximately $300 billion of Russian assets. This action primarily targeted Russia's foreign reserves, including funds held in Europe, and a smaller portion within the United States. The freeze, which immobilized assets belonging to the Russian central bank, aimed to pressure Russia economically and politically. This significant move has had broader implications, prompting many countries to reconsider the safety and diversification of their reserves. The fear of similar vulnerabilities has led numerous nations to increase their gold holdings, viewing gold as a more secure and stable asset. The diversification into gold is seen as a protective measure against potential geopolitical and financial risks. Reckless money printing by the U.S. The United States has engaged in significant money printing during 2 critical periods: the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. These actions have led to concerns about global inflation and the devaluation of dollar reserves, driving countries to seek gold as a more stable store of value. During the 2008 financial crisis, the Federal Reserve implemented quantitative easing, or QE, which involved creating money to buy financial assets. This action aimed to stabilize the economy by injecting liquidity into the financial system. From 2008 to 2014, the U.S. monetary base expanded from $850 billion to over $4 trillion. However, inflation did not immediately spike because the banks held onto the excess reserves instead of lending them out, which kept the velocity of money low. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. government launched several relief packages, including the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. This led to an unprecedented increase in the money supply. Between 2019 and 2021, the money supply, measured by M2, increased by 19% and 16% respectively. The rapid expansion of the money supply, coupled with supply chain disruptions and increased demand for goods, led to a significant rise in inflation. The inflation rate, which had been relatively stable for decades, surged to a 40-year high, reaching 9.1% in June 2022. The Federal Reserve responded by raising interest rates to combat the inflationary pressures, but the extensive monetary expansion had already set the stage for prolonged inflation. These actions by the U.S. have led many countries to diversify their reserves into gold to mitigate similar vulnerabilities and preserve value. High demand for gold among BRICS nations. Both Indian and Chinese consumers have shown significant demand for gold, driven by cultural, economic, and market factors. In India, gold holds deep cultural significance, being integral to weddings, festivals, and as a form of saving. Despite high prices, the demand for gold remains robust, though it can fluctuate with economic conditions. For example, during the first quarter of 2024, high gold prices and the upcoming general elections tempered demand somewhat. However, traditional events like Akshaya Tritiya, considered an auspicious time to buy gold, are expected to see a surge in purchases. Additionally, Indian investors have shown increased interest in gold ETFs, reflecting a growing appetite for tradable financial products and diversification amid geopolitical tensions. In China, gold demand has been bolstered by economic factors such as a struggling real estate market and low returns from the stock market. This has led many Chinese investors to turn to gold as a safer investment. In January 2024, gold withdrawals from the Shanghai Gold Exchange reached a record high, driven by robust retail and institutional demand. The Chinese New Year also traditionally boosts gold purchases, contributing to the strong demand. Moreover, Chinese investors have been investing heavily in gold ETFs, indicating a preference for gold amid economic uncertainties. Russian consumer demand for gold has remained resilient, despite the economic challenges and geopolitical tensions in recent years. In 2023, Russian gold demand was bolstered by both domestic consumption and significant exports to China. The latter was particularly noteworthy, with China's gold imports from Russia reaching a 5-year high as Beijing sought to diversify away from the US dollar amid Western sanctions against Russia. Domestically, Russian consumers have turned to gold as a hedge against economic uncertainty and inflation. The Central Bank of Russia has also played a crucial role in maintaining robust gold reserves, reflecting the nation's strategic emphasis on gold as a stable asset amid financial instability. In the first quarter of 2024, Russia's gold market continued to show strong performance. High gold prices contributed to an increase in recycling activities, and overall demand remained aligned with the 10-year quarterly average. This resilience is partly due to the continued economic sanctions, which have made gold an attractive investment for both the Russian government and private consumers looking for stability and security. Investor sentiment. Gold prices typically rise during stock market downturns and periods of high inflation as investors seek to preserve their wealth. This trend is driven by gold's reputation as a safe haven asset. During market volatility, investors flock to gold. For instance, the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic both saw significant increases in gold purchases as stock markets plummeted. Inflation erodes purchasing power, making gold more attractive. Recent government spending and monetary stimulus have heightened inflation fears, leading to a surge in gold investments. The U.S. experienced a notable rise in inflation, with the CPI reaching 9.1% in June 2022, the highest in 40 years, driving up gold prices. This pattern continues with gold prices hitting new highs in early 2024. The LBMA gold price averaged a record $2,070 per ounce in the first quarter, reflecting strong demand amid geopolitical tensions and economic instability. In summary, as the US dollar loses its dominance and role in the global market, gold becomes increasingly important and reliable. More than 30 countries have significantly shifted away from trading in dollars, driving a greater move toward gold. This trend suggests that gold prices are likely to rise over the coming years. As nations seek stability amid economic uncertainties, the demand for gold as a safe haven asset continues to grow, reinforcing its value in the international financial system. This shift, highlights the evolving dynamics of global trade and currency preferences, with gold playing a central role in maintaining economic stability. That's all for
Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. I know that I have been uploading more videos than usual on the BRICS blog. This is because there have been so many new developments recently, and I try to bring them to your attention because this is what's shaping the world that we live in. And this yet another new development that I would like to share with you today in this video is absolutely unprecedented. The BRICS bloc members are countries with vast natural resources and a wealth of commodities that are in high demand in the world. And as we are literally on the brink of a massive escalation in the Middle East, with the war between Israel and Hezbollah becoming more and more likely by the day, and the proxy war in Ukraine going on, securing access to natural resources, to food supply and raw earth minerals has become the top priority. Nations of the BRICS bloc will enjoy a natural advantage here because they are able to trade these items at a lower cost, I should say, since they're not using the dollar, and therefore there's no cost associated with foreign exchange. Very often when we discuss multipolarity, we focus on de-dollarization. But what we rarely discuss these days is the abundance of bilateral and multilateral agreements between these countries, between the full members of the BRICS bloc. And these agreements go beyond purely economic or finance-related issues. One of such recent initiatives was Russia's proposal to create an inter-bloc grain exchange. On June the 14th, the BRICS agriculture ministers met and supported the idea of a new grain platform between member countries. This is a truly significant development because its primary focus is social development and the expansion of areas that would be mutually beneficial to these emerging markets. The BRICS grain exchange would support food security and therefore human security. Also, it may allow the BRICS bloc to exercise control over grain prices to an extent, and I will discuss that in this video as well. The idea of the BRICS bloc grain exchange is not a new one. The Russian Union of Grain Exporters first expressed the idea of establishing an inter-BRICS grain exchange back in December of 2023. Now, 6 months later, it's coming to fruition. Now, of course, there are many of those who dislike the idea because, well, it is an excellent one, and once implemented, it would further reduce the reliance of the BRICS countries on their non-bloc partners, as well as make a full membership in the bloc a lot more appealing to those who haven't applied yet. Who wouldn't want to have access to core commodities at better prices? It is a no-brainer, especially in a world where global instability seems to increase by the day. Therefore, it is not surprising at all that Western media outlets immediately started to create this narrative where Russia's initiative to create a grain exchange platform all of a sudden turned out to be evil, and they actually went so far as to say that the officially declared purpose of the alliance is to facilitate trade between member states. But analysts warn, so now they're trying to default to scare tactics and to scare you, saying that these unknown, unidentified analysts are now issuing warnings. So these analysts say that the new structure will aim to become an analog of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC in other words, for the global grain market, with the goal of influencing free pricing. Well, to counter that, Europe could always grow its own grain and depend solely on its production, right? Why wouldn't they want to do that? Well, not really. It cannot do that. Europe is too busy waging wars on its own farmers, trying to push Agenda 2030. And of course, it's busy trying to decouple from both China and Russia, and especially in this particular context, from cheap Russian fertilizer that 80% of French agribusiness has been using and a third of entire Europe. So it really is extremely hypocritical to implement self-damaging domestic policies while also trying to hurt someone else's ideas and success. Well, once this grain platform is fully established, it will allow commodities pricing to shift. That is a very valid point. At the moment, all benchmark grain prices are set in the United States and in Europe. So this initiative will remove this yet another important authority from Western countries. Additionally, it goes without saying that the creation of an alternative commodities platform, which may or may not be expanded later on into items besides just the grains, and then coupled with transacting in local currencies, those two things combined would upend the current commodities market as we know it. During the BRICS ministers' meeting, reportedly, they discussed the fact that the BRICS countries now make up about 30% of all arable land in the world. They jointly produce about 40% of grain crops, 50% of fish, 50% of dairy products worldwide. Therefore, in fact, the BRICS countries are a key platform for ensuring global food security. This is an extremely important area these days, especially given that just several days ago, I shared with you a rather surprising and shocking article that was published in the Financial Times on the likelihood of food wars. Financial Times effectively underscored that we can no longer rely on the supply of food being uninterrupted. I will link that video below for those who may be interested to watch it next. The BRICS grain exchange will be technically ready by October of 2024. Russia plans to establish a modern, high-tech digital marketplace, by the way. So this was according to the head of the Russian Union of Grain Exports. Now, the BRICS grain exchange, once it is established in just several months from now, will ideally seek to unite global exporters. Ultimately, the goal might be to form an organization that is similar to OPEC Plus, if they find it mutually beneficial, of course. As we know, OPEC Plus meets and decides to jointly limit or increase supply of oil in the global markets, which impacts prices worldwide. There is a possibility that the BRICS grain exchange might go this route as well, although I personally do not think that this would be in their best interest. I think that the BRICS are willing to trade with Western and with their Eastern partners on beneficial terms, of course, and forming an OPEC Plus style organization is likely not on their agenda at the time because not all BRICS members are grain exporters. So that is not something that they all have in common that would drive that type of an initiative at this point in time. Commodities are clearly becoming increasingly important, and grain exports and imports is on top of everyone's list, as there is an increasing possibility that food supply may not be guaranteed moving forward. Therefore, the latest initiative by Moscow to form a grain exchange platform promises to upend commodities markets, and in addition to a brand new alternative financial system that the bloc is actively working on, it will provide yet another vital interest that will, without a doubt in my mind, unite global emerging economies. Food security is the primary concern, and this is just too good of an opportunity to leave on the table. As always, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Do you all remember the NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania last year? It was in July, between July 11th through the 12th. and how largely the mainstream media focused the narrative at that time on Ukraine's NATO membership, which was delusional anyway. But behind the headlines, another significant story about another meeting that was taking place and was largely unnoticed. NATO's gradually moving towards the Asia-Pacific region to counter China's increase in power. That's what that meeting is all about. And if this does not make your head spin, consider what the European Union wants to do, seeking security and defense partnership with Japan and South Korea, a move that could lead to a broader joint development project in the defense industry, in my opinion. In this brief analysis, I delve into the historical context, motivations, and potential implications of this strategic shift, which is a mistake, in my opinion, drawing from recent developments and historical precedents. So, what NATO and the EU are doing in Asia, and what that is all about. In an increasingly interconnected world, geopolitical strategies are evolving to address emerging threats, for example, and opportunities. Both NATO and the European Union, the EU, are expanding their focus on the Asia-Pacific region, seeking to build stronger security and defense partnerships with key countries such as Japan and South Korea. But we need to know and learn about the historical context, the origin of NATO and the EU for that matter. NATO, which was established in 1949, was originally designed to counter Soviet expansions in Europe. Its primary mission was to ensure the security of its member states through collective defense. Over the decades, NATO's focus has shifted to include a wide range of security challenges, from counterterrorism to cyber threats. The EU, on the other hand, has its roots in economic cooperation. Founded in the aftermath of World War II, it aimed to foster economic integration to prevent future conflicts. Over time, the EU has developed its own security and defense policies, seeking to complement NATO and address regional and global security issues. So, why the pivot to Asia? Well, the Asia-Pacific region has become a focal point for global strategic interests. This shift is driven by several factors. One, economic influence. Asia is a home to some of the world's largest and fastest growing economies. Besides China being the major global economy, that is, there's Japan and South Korea, which are technologically and an economic key player, making them critical partners for both NATO and the EU. Two, security threats. Many in the West argue that the region faces significant security challenges, including North Korea's nuclear ambitions, territorial disputes in the South China Sea, and China's growing military assertiveness. Yet, the truth is the opposite. It is the West, mainly the US, involvements in the region that are the main source of tensions. Taiwan is a case in point. Three, geopolitical competition. The rise of China as a global power has altered the strategic landscape and the geopolitical calculus for everyone. Both NATO and the EU recognize the need to engage with Asia to balance China's influence and ensure a rule-based international order. Here we go. Yet only Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines are so to have been sucked into this orbit. Recent developments in the EU, Japan, partnership? Well, the EU is actively pursuing security and defense partnership with both Japan and South Korea. These initiatives aim to balance cooperation in areas such as cybersecurity, maritime security, and defense technology. We'll start with Japan first. Well, the EU and Japan have been strengthening their strategic partnership through A, EU-Japan Strategic Partnership Agreement, and B, the Economic Partnership Agreements. These agreements cover a wide range of issues, from trade to security cooperation. Joint military exercises and intelligence sharing are also on the agenda, which signal to me a deepening of defense ties. What about South Korea? Well, similar to Japan, South Korea has been engaging with the EU to bolster security cooperation. This includes collaborations in defense, technology, counterterrorism, and yes, cyber defense. The EU-South Korea Framework Agreement provides a foundation for this partnership, promoting peace and stability in the region. Yeah, that's what they say. What about NATO's role in Asia? Well, NATO's engagement in Asia has been more cautious but steadily increasing. Traditionally focused on the North Atlantic region, NATO eagerness now that security and global interlinked. Whoever thought, since the main mission of NATO was to counter the Soviet Union. Now the USSR ceases to exist, so why does NATO still exist, I ask? NATO partnership with Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand suggest, in my opinion, that Asia will be the next conflict theater. And here is the key: strategic dialogue. Interestingly, NATO has established platforms for so-called strategic dialogue with its Asian partners, addressing shared security concerns and exploring areas for cooperation. These dialogues are crucial for building trust and ensuring coordinated responses to threats. Yet, if this strategic concept stated by carrying NATO, ensuring purpose and nature to counter USSR, so why is NATO going all the way to Asia for? The implications for global security. Well, the expansion of NATO and the EU influence in Asia has significant implications for global security. One, enhanced deterrence. Strengthening partnership with Japan and South Korea enhances deterrence against regional threats, particularly from North Korea and China. A united front can prevent aggression and maintain stability. What NATO is doing is creating an enemy, China that is, in Asia, to justify its presence there. Two, technological advancements. Collaboration in defense technology and cybersecurity can lead to significant advancements befitting all parties involved. Joint research and development efforts can address emerging threats and improve defense capabilities. So we thought. Three, economic stability. Security is closely linked to economic stability. By fostering a secure environment, NATO and the EU can contribute to sustained economic growth and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region. Yeah, we hope so. Four, global governance. Engaging with Asia helps NATO and the EU promote a rule-based international order. Here we go again. This includes upholding international law, protecting human rights, and ensuring free and open seas. Yet, you and I know these are nothing but slogans, empty bravado, so subservient nations like Japan, like South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines adhere to. Using history as my guide, while the US-Russian rivalry since its inception was mainly focused on Europe and Russia's neighborhood, it is now a bygone era compared to where this rivalry manifests itself today in West and East Asia. On the European front, Europe is more divided on how Russia is perceived, for example. More division exists today than it did a few decades ago. Today, the US-Russian geopolitical rivalry is driven by the reality of a NATO alliance that has gone too far, right up to Russia's doorsteps. What does the West expect? That Russia will open its arm and welcome NATO advancements with open arms? As a matter of fact, when NATO extended the invitation to Montenegro, a country the size of Connecticut, with little to contribute to NATO's overall defense capabilities, I questioned the rationale for such a decision. I believe the NATO alliance and the West, for that matter, knew how Russia will react. Moscow issued warning statements of a military nature. This should come as no surprise. I see the same pattern now NATO is embarking on vis-a-vis Asia. Here is my conclusion for you, because I want to keep this short and concise. The move by NATO and the EU to strengthen their presence in Asia marks a significant shift in global security strategy. By building robust partnership with Japan and South Korea, the region will be involved in more conflict in the near future. Regardless of what you hear about both NATO and the EU's presence in Asia is aimed at, 1, to enhance regional stability, 2, deter aggression, and 3, promote rule-based international order. Here we go again with these slogans. All this is nothing but a lie. One thing is sure. Both NATO and EU have set their sight on Asia. The question is, what will the region do to ensure its stability and security without having the collective West be involved? As this story unfolds, it will shape the future of international relations and redefine the global balance of power. If you like this video, please hit that like button and don't forget.
Imagine a quiet town on South America's Pacific coast, now alive with construction. China's bold plan is coming to life. They're building a $3.5 billion megaport in Chancay, Peru. This project will change global trade. This isn't just any port, it's a major development. With its deep waters, it will accommodate the world's largest ships, cutting shipping times between South America and Asia by 1/3. Faster routes are only part of the story. This project is also about control. As Beijing gains more influence over South American resources, the US is concerned. Could this port become a strategic gateway for Chinese influence, or even a military presence close to America? As President Xi Jinping prepares to open this port, the world is watching. How will this affect global trade and power dynamics? Stay tuned, as this development could change everything. But before we get into the details, hit that like button and subscribe to Tech Revolution. We're all about bringing you the latest and greatest updates, so you don't want to miss out. All right, let's get right into it. The $3.5 billion deep water port in Chancay, Peru, mainly owned by China's COSCO Shipping, is causing concern in the US. The port, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, aims to establish direct shipping routes between South America and Asia. It's expected to be finished by the end of 2024. The US is worried that the port's ability to handle large ships directly between Peru and China could disrupt trade and increase China's control over South American resources. There are also fears about the port's potential military use, which could pose risks to data security and cargo scanning. General Laura Richardson of the US Southern Command has expressed concerns about the strategic impact of this development. The Chancay port is set to make Peru a major commercial hub, enabling the export of commodities from Peru and other South American countries like Brazil. This project is a significant step in China's efforts to strengthen economic ties with Latin America. US companies might face more competition in South American markets as China boosts its economic ties and invests in infrastructure. This could challenge American businesses trying to keep their market position and influence in the region. In response, there are increasing calls for the US to invest more in Latin America to counter China's influence. Experts suggest that US foreign policy might shift towards more active engagement in South America. This shift would aim to address the growing Chinese presence and protect American economic and strategic interests. Once completed, the port will have 11 berths for some of the world's largest container ships. The first 4 berths are set to open in 2024, with the rest following in later phases. This megaport will change trade in the region, allowing direct imports from South America to China and possibly diverting trade from traditional routes through the Panama Canal. Brazil, a major agricultural exporter, is very interested in using this new port to speed up exports to China. The Chancay megaport is part of China's broader strategy to expand its global trade influence. It's a key part of the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, launched in 2013, which aims to build infrastructure networks across Asia, Europe, and Africa, creating new trade routes and strengthening economic ties with partner countries. China has also been actively pursuing free trade agreements, covering nearly 40% of the global economy. The Made in China 2025 industrial policy aims to boost China's high-tech sectors and advanced manufacturing capabilities, which could reshape global trade dynamics. The new $3.5 billion Chancay megaport in Peru, built by China, is set to boost trade between South America and China, changing regional economic dynamics and raising concerns in the United States. Strategically located on Peru's Pacific coast, the port will create direct shipping routes to Asia, cutting transit times by up to 30 days. This is crucial for perishable goods like fruits and vegetables, making them more competitive in Asian markets. The megaport will also open new opportunities for South American exports, such as minerals, agricultural products, and manufactured goods. At the same time, it will make it easier for Chinese exports like electric vehicles and consumer goods to enter South America and beyond. The improved logistics and lower transportation costs are expected to significantly increase trade volumes between South America and Asia. Experts believe the Chancay port could make Peru a major hub for global trade, boosting regional economies. The port's ability to handle megaships directly from China could change trade dynamics, potentially increasing Beijing's economic influence in the region. Under President Dina Boluarte, the Peruvian government has welcomed Chinese investments as opportunities for economic growth and development. Boluarte is set to visit China in the coming months to discuss the Chancay megaport project and possibly secure additional agreements. However, concerns have arisen about granting exclusive operational rights to the Chinese state-owned company COSCO Shipping. The government is now working to address this issue and revoke COSCO's exclusive control over the port's operations. The Chancay megaport is part of China's broader strategy to invest in infrastructure and logistics across South America. Similar megaport projects are happening or planned in countries like Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. These investments aim to strengthen trade ties between China and the region, potentially changing the dynamics of maritime trade in South America. The megaports could enable more direct trade routes between South America and Asia, enhancing regional connectivity and economic cooperation with China. As we wrap up, China's $3.5 billion Chancay megaport in Peru represents a significant shift in global trade dynamics, set to impact regional economies and geopolitical relationships. This project, part of the Belt and Road Initiative, reflects China's strategic effort to enhance connectivity and trade routes in South America. the megaport will speed up shipping between South America and Asia by accommodating large container ships. This will likely increase trade volumes and boost economic development in Peru and beyond. However, the project has raised concerns, especially in the United States, about Chinese control over critical infrastructure and its potential impact on regional security and American interests. As President Dina Boluarte's administration in Peru works to balance economic opportunities with sovereignty concerns, the international community is watching closely. The Changsha megaport highlights China's broader strategy to reshape global trade patterns, presenting both challenges and opportunities for the future of international commerce. What do you think will be the long-term economic and geopolitical impacts of China's Changsha megaport in Peru on South America and global trade? Share your thoughts below. And that's it for today.
Tells me is the export controls are working, because that chip is not nearly as good. It's years behind what we have in the United States. We have the most sophisticated semiconductors in the world. China doesn't. We've out-innovated China.
Well, you mean Taiwan.
So the semiconductor wars are escalating. While the US still believes China is in a stone age, Europe is beginning to realize the truth. China's chip-making industry is much stronger than what the West really thinks. When it comes to chips, there are generally two types in the market we need to be concerned about. The first is cutting-edge chips, and these are your NVIDIA A100 and H100s. These are needed for AI technology and deep learning. The US has banned those exports to China on national security grounds. China is playing catch-up here. However, there is another category where China dominates the world, and that is in legacy chips. These are semiconductors used in almost every device we know. Airplanes, fighter jets, and smartphones, they all use these chips. And because of China's industrial capacity, they are dominating chip production for the mass market. 31% of global legacy chips are produced by China, and that's over $200 billion in revenue. One country controls a third of the world's conventional chip supply. It's a reminder about the importance of supply chains. China's industrial base has allowed them to conquer the sector. They aren't there yet with the 3 to 5 nanometer chips, but it's just a matter of time. Their domination of legacy chips gives China quite a few advantages. They now have the capacity to scale production once they make the breakthrough. But more importantly, this gives China a big revenue source for research and development. Take China's semiconductor exports to Russia, for example. Because of Western decoupling, Beijing is now dominating the Russian market. Semiconductor exports have flown up, and chip-making equipment to Moscow was well above $200 million. And this amount will only grow further in the years to come. It will help fund China's R&D. America's technology war is also dragging their allies into the mess. Biden isn't just restricting US chips to Beijing. There are arm-twisting companies in Japan, Taiwan, and Europe to toe the line, to stop selling chips to China. And the reason is very simple. The US is afraid of China making real progress.
Well, we are trying to choke their military capacity. So if they feel that, that means our strategy is working. We are not going to, certainly on my watch, we are not going to sell the most sophisticated American chips to China that they want for their military capacity.
And we're going to prevent any company from doing that?
Said,
you can't do business with the United States in this industry if you want to sell those chips to China, correct? We're going to stick to that?
Absolutely, yes. But I do want to be clear. We will also still continue to sell, billions of dollars of chips a year to China, because the vast majority of chips that are made are not, the leading edge, cutting edge that I'm talking about. And that is hard. That's hard for people to accept. It's a kind of a nuanced, complex message and policy reality, but it is the reality. But we're also going to sell, like I said, billions of dollars of less sophisticated chips, which, by the way, Chuck, is good for America. Creates revenue for American companies, which they can plow back into research and development.
But even Raimondo, the Commerce Secretary, admits that you can't avoid the Chinese market. It's simply too big and there's too much money on the table to leave behind. It's important we put things into perspective here. Western narratives tells us that China is a threat and collapsing at the same time. It's really confusing. So let's use the numbers as a guide, as a reality check. Even after all the restrictions, China still accounts for 10 billion in revenue for Nvidia. Remember, China isn't even buying the most advanced chips. 10 billion is a big amount of money for a single country. And this situation is playing out in Europe as well. ASML is a Dutch chip maker. They comply with US tax sanctions on China. Even then, Chinese companies are their biggest customer. In Q1 this year, China accounted for 2 billion euros in revenue. That's 49% of total sales for the company. China is the biggest revenue driver for ASML, even after all the export controls. That's the level of dependency Western chipmakers have with China. If this money suddenly disappears, you'll see company earnings collapse and tons of job losses. So it's common sense to treat your best customer well, right? Especially if you're Europe. It's simple business 101, but it's not happening because of US foreign policy. Washington wants G7 allies to stop servicing their Chinese customers now, to make it harder for Beijing to develop their high-tech semiconductors. The US wants to corner the AI chip market, but they have no control over China's legacy chip industry. And now Europe is freaking out over this. Europe is ringing the alarm bells. China wants their car makers to buy more chips from local firms, to ditch Western chips and focus on local Chinese foundries like SMIC. This is a big problem because the West still sells a ton to Beijing. Companies like Infineon in Germany are in panic mode. Thanks to the tax sanctions, China is moving fast and they're doubling down on their chip industry. And their strategy now is ingenious. They're replacing the semiconductors in their own cars. To make an EV, you need around 3,000 chips, especially for the latest models. The chips themselves cost over $3,000. China today is the biggest EV exporter in the world. They have overtaken every country when it comes to electric vehicles. China no longer just makes the chips, they also make the products that use those chips as well. And they're starting to make a move to decouple from the West over there. The Chinese government is now asking companies like BYD and Geely to abandon foreign semiconductors and go local. It's a powerful combination that allows their chipmakers to grow and innovate better. The idea here is to keep Chinese money flowing within the domestic economy. Chinese chips, at least the most advanced ones, are still 5 to 10 years away and they need to innovate in a hurry. And to do that, you need money. Now, it's true that China throws a ton of subsidies to all their companies, but it's simply not enough. It's quite counterproductive if all your EV brands keep buying chips from the US and Europe. Modern cars today are relying more on electronic parts. By 2030, 45% of a car's production cost will come from electronics. Semiconductors will account for a big proportion of that. As China continues to roll out more cars around the world, especially across Asia, they will earn a ton of money. And if all the chips in the EVs are China made, guess who wins? The semiconductor industry. They get more money for research and development. And a big shout out to our sponsor today, Indigo Precious Metals. When it comes to buying gold and silver, I trust Indigo Precious Metals in Singapore. They have made investing in precious metals safe, fast, easy, and simple for both small and large scale buying. I've been stacking gold for over a decade now, and I've learned two things when buying. You want to buy authentic gold bullion, and you want to buy it at the lowest premium possible to stretch your dollars even further. And I'm glad to say I found both of this at Indigo Precious Metals. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today. We have geopolitical chaos and the values of fiat currencies getting debased. Inflation is not going to end, and that's why I consistently buy gold to preserve my wealth. Indigo Precious Metals is a leading retailer in Singapore. They specialize in physical gold, silver, and platinum. They are my one-stop shop when it comes to buying bullion. Their prices are sharp, and they have the best brands on sale, and I can test the gold on the spot. So if you're looking to make your first gold purchase, Indigo Precious Metals is the best place to start. Whether it's 1 ounce or 1 kilo, this is the reputable dealer you are looking for. So take action today. Click on the link below and enjoy a discount on your first purchase with the code SeanFu. Start your gold stacking journey today. And just listen to Philip Wong, the chief scientist at TSMC. You cannot underestimate the Chinese industry.
What about China?
China is, I don't think we could ignore their capability. The only thing that I see that the US is still a little bit ahead is in coming up with the new ideas. What the Chinese always say, going from 0 to 1. Namely, starting from nowhere, nothing, and come up with this really new idea. And if I look at what I would call new idea that is not been discussed before, the US still, if you read the research papers, the US still is the principal place where these new ideas come from. But once these new ideas become known, then
you see mushrooming of this new ideas in other places.
Exactly. And I feel it in my everyday research with my students.
Oh my gosh.
Any new ideas that we come up with, once they become known, this is a good idea.
And next week it will show up in China.
It will actually show up in China, not only that they do it better than you.
Yeah.
I cannot compete anymore. They have better resources, they have more students, they have more funding from the government. I cannot compete anymore. I have to get out of that field.
China's strategy lies in their EV dominance. They are the largest exporter in the world after all. Just in October last year, China exported over 130,000 EVs. These aren't just Chinese cars, but global brands like Tesla as well. And because Beijing controls the entire supply chain, the shift towards Chinese semiconductors can be tremendous. The majority of EVs made in China could be fitted with chips also made in China. It will happen slowly at first and then suddenly at once, just like everything else. And this is why Europe is really afraid. The only advantage they have left is a head start. Manufacturing costs in the EU are extremely high, especially in Germany. Things are very different in China. President Xi has made it a national directive to step up innovation, and the companies in China, they are listening. They are building out a ton of semiconductor plants over the next few years. Around 100 new plants are being built globally, and 40% of this will come from a single country, China. Chinese companies are building 41 new plants. That's at least twice more than either Taiwan, Europe, or the US. There's no comparison here. The quantity game has been won. China can flood the world with affordable chips to grab market share. And the first place they will do it is their domestic market, their EV market. A tsunami of cheap semiconductors is going to sweep across Chinese automakers. And in terms of revenue, local chip makers, they are going to make bank. The amount of money flowing into semiconductors will be incredible. Their foundries will have a ton of money to develop cutting-edge chips to compete against the US. It's just a matter of time now. China is playing an epic game of catch-up, and we can see how serious they are. This is a chart of capital expenditure to sales ratio of global chip makers. The higher the number, the more a chip maker is investing versus how much they are earning. Chinese foundries, including SMIC, are pouring in money like there's no tomorrow. Their focus is to expand production capacity to capture future sales. Their capex is almost equal to their total sales. It's well over 90%. China chip makers are investing double that of Taiwan and almost 3 times higher than the US. And that's how committed they are to winning the war, the semiconductor war. The plan to replace Western chips in their cars will only speed things up. It's a very simple equation here. More revenue earned means more money to invest in developing better chips. This is China's playbook for industrial domination. These companies can ignore lower profits for a very long time. They are playing the long game here. In the meantime, the biggest loser of this will be Europe. The deck is simply stacked against them. and there's not much they can actually do. A lot of German automakers build their cars in China. Volkswagen and Mercedes have big production plants in the country. And if Chinese chips cost less, chances are to stay competitive, they will have to make the switch there. Beijing is telling their car makers to use more local chips, up to 25% of their total sourcing. The number is around 10% today, but by next year, this number could easily double or maybe even triple. And because of the EU trade war, we can be sure China won't feel bad anymore. The EV war we see today is just a start. Things will continue to escalate, and the next battleground will be semiconductors, and that's even bigger. The West is ahead today, but in 5 to 10 years, China will have both the quantity and the quality. But let me know what you think. Will China's plan work? And does the EU even have a response to this?
China has made significant advancements in hypersonic technology, outpacing the US military and potentially altering global power dynamics and security landscapes. China's large and sophisticated hypersonic wind tunnel capabilities allow them to build and test prototypes more efficiently, giving them an advantage in developing practical applications for this technology. The US Department of Defense is investing heavily in catching up, but defense officials have acknowledged that the US may be behind China in this domain.
Before we begin with this intriguing story, we appreciate that you can subscribe to our channel so that we can bring you more content similar to this one. Thank you so much for your support. Let's continue.
Hypersonic technology refers to systems that can travel at speeds greater than 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5. This encompasses both hypersonic missiles and aircraft. Recent advancements in aerodynamics, materials science, and computational capabilities have paved the way for the development of such technologies. The evolution of hypersonic technology has significant implications for the global strategic landscape and military power dynamics. 1. Strategic advantages. Nations possessing hypersonic weapons gain a strategic advantage due to their speed, maneuverability, and ability to evade traditional defense systems. This can potentially disrupt existing power balances and introduce strategic ambiguities, as mentioned in the sources. 2. First strike capability. As mentioned in your prompt, China's hypersonic advancements could provide them with a first strike advantage. This means they could potentially launch a surprise attack, leaving an opponent with minimal time or capacity to react effectively, thereby nullifying their defensive postures. 3. Geopolitical tensions. The development of hypersonic weapons by countries like China and Russia has triggered an arms race and heightened geopolitical tensions. This is particularly true in regions where the US has allies and partners, as the credibility of US defense commitments may be called into question. 4. Arms control and proliferation. The emergence of hypersonic weapons has sparked debates about arms control and non-proliferation. The United States, for instance, is concerned about the proliferation of hypersonic technology to regional rivals or unstable regimes, which could exacerbate global conflict and instability. 5. Defense challenges. Hypersonic weapons pose significant challenges to traditional defense systems, including missile defense networks. Their high speed and maneuverability make them difficult to track and intercept, requiring the development of new defense technologies and strategies. 6. Intelligence and surveillance. Hypersonic technologies can also have implications for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance (ISR) capabilities. The speed and altitude at which these systems can operate may provide new avenues for intelligence gathering, further enhancing their military value. 7. Global reach. Hypersonic weapons can potentially strike targets at long ranges in a very short time, expanding the global strike capabilities of nations that possess them. This extends the reach of military power and can impact the calculation of deterrence and retaliation strategies. 8. Resource competition. The race to acquire hypersonic capabilities is driving competition for resources, including advanced materials, propulsion systems, and computational technologies. This can further intensify geopolitical rivalries and economic competition. The fear and concern within the U.S. defense establishment regarding China's advancements in hypersonic weapons technology revolve around several key factors. 1. Strategic stability and first strike capability. One of the primary concerns is the potential challenge to strategic stability. Hypersonic weapons, with their high speed, maneuverability, and low detectability, could provide China with a credible first strike capability. This means China could potentially launch a surprise attack, overwhelming U.S. defenses and leaving little to no time for the United States to respond effectively. This challenges the long-standing concept of mutual assured destruction, MAD, which has been a cornerstone of strategic stability during the Cold War and afterward. 2. Defense system challenges. U.S. officials worry that China's hypersonic weapons could render current U.S. missile defense systems obsolete or less effective. The speed, maneuverability, and unpredictable flight paths of hypersonic gliders or maneuverable re-entry vehicles make them extremely challenging to track and intercept. This could undermine the U.S. military's ability to protect its assets, troops, and allies in the event of a conflict. 3. Intelligence and surveillance. China's hypersonic capabilities may also enhance its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance (ISR) abilities. Hypersonic platforms can quickly reach remote areas and provide valuable intelligence data. This could improve China's situational awareness and decision-making capabilities, potentially giving them an edge in conflict scenarios. 4. Arms race and geopolitical imbalances. The fear is that China's advancements will trigger an arms race, not just with the United States but also with other regional powers. This could lead to increased tensions and instability in regions like the Indo-Pacific. Moreover, it may prompt U.S. allies and partners to question the credibility of U.S. security commitments, potentially affecting long-standing alliances and partnerships. 5. Technology gap. China's rapid progress in hypersonic technology has highlighted a technology gap between the two countries. The U.S. defense establishment is concerned that it may be falling behind in this critical domain, which could have broader implications for military superiority and geopolitical influence. 6. Proliferation risks. There are also concerns about the potential proliferation of hypersonic technology to other nations, including U.S. adversaries or unstable regimes. This could further complicate global security dynamics and increase the risks of regional conflicts or accidental escalations. 7. Resource allocation and budgetary constraints. The race to counter China's hypersonic capabilities will likely require significant resource allocation and budgetary adjustments. This could strain the already stretched U.S. defense budget and potentially impact other military modernization and readiness initiatives.
What if a single treaty could shift the balance of global power? Russia and Iran are on the brink of such a game-changing agreement. Today on Future Forward, we're diving deep into a development that could reshape the geopolitical landscape as we know it. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay ahead of the curve on global finance, technology, and geopolitics. Now let's set the stage. For years, Russia and Iran have been key players on the global stage, often working at odds with Western interests. But today, we're witnessing a seismic shift in their relationship, one that could have far-reaching consequences for every corner of the globe. The Russia-Iran Comprehensive Cooperation Treaty. It sounds like diplomatic jargon, but make no mistake, this agreement has the potential to redraw the map of global influence. But why now? And what does it mean for the rest of us? To understand the gravity of this situation, we need to rewind a bit. Russia and Iran's relationship has been complex, to say the least. Both nations have faced Western sanctions and have often found themselves on the same side of geopolitical disputes. But this treaty takes their alliance to an entirely new level. Negotiations for this agreement have been ongoing since 2022, but recent developments have accelerated the process. Just this week, Gazprom, Russia's state-owned energy giant, signed a memorandum to turn Iran into a regional gas hub. This isn't just about energy, it's about power, influence, and a potential reshaping of the global order. But let's break this down further. What exactly does this treaty entail? While the full details aren't public yet, we can piece together a picture from various sources and expert analyses. First and foremost, this is an energy partnership of epic proportions. Russia and Iran collectively control over 60% of the world's natural gas reserves. Let that sink in for a moment. By joining forces, they could potentially dictate global energy prices and supply chains, but it goes beyond just gas. The treaty is expected to cover a wide range of strategic areas, including infrastructure development. Russia is likely to invest heavily in Iranian infrastructure, from ports to railways, strengthening Iran's position as a regional transit hub. Military cooperation. While details are scarce, increased military ties could shift the balance of power in the Middle East and beyond. Economic integration. This could include preferential trade agreements, joint investment funds, and possibly even a new financial system to bypass Western-dominated networks. Technological collaboration. From space programs to nuclear energy, this partnership could accelerate technological advancements in both countries. Let's start with energy prices. If Russia and Iran coordinate their gas exports, they could potentially manipulate global energy markets. This could lead to price volatility, affecting everything from your heating bill to the cost of goods transported across the globe. But the implications go far beyond your wallet. This treaty could accelerate the shift towards a multipolar world, challenging the current Western-dominated global order. We might see new alliances form, old ones crumble, and a fundamental realignment of international relations. Consider this. Iran is set to join the BRICS group, an economic alliance that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. With Iran's inclusion, boosted by this new treaty with Russia, BRICS could emerge as a formidable counterweight to Western-led economic institutions. But it's not all smooth sailing. This treaty could also exacerbate existing tensions. The United States and its allies are unlikely to view this development favorably. We could see increased sanctions, diplomatic pressure, or even proxy conflicts as a result. Moreover, this treaty could have significant implications for ongoing global crises. Take Afghanistan, for instance. Both Russia and Iran have expressed concerns about the growing presence of ISIS-K in northern Afghanistan. This treaty could lead to increased cooperation in counterterrorism efforts in the region, potentially altering the balance of power in Central Asia. Now, let's zoom out for a moment and consider the bigger picture. This treaty is happening against the backdrop of several global trends: the decline of U.S. hegemony and the rise of a multipolar world order, increasing economic sanctions as a tool of foreign policy, the global energy transition and the race for control over critical resources, the growing importance of regional alliances and economic blocs. In this context, the Russia-Iran treaty isn't just a bilateral agreement, it's a statement of intent. It's these two nations saying, we're charting our own course, regardless of Western opposition. But what does this mean for the future? Let's speculate a bit. In the short term, we might see increased tensions between this new alliance and the West. Economic sanctions could intensify, and we might witness a new era of economic warfare. In the medium term, this treaty could accelerate the development of alternative financial systems. BRICS nations are already working on a new payment system to reduce reliance on the US dollar. This treaty could give that effort a significant boost. Long term, we could be looking at fundamentally altered global landscape. A stronger Russia-Iran axis, potentially aligned with China, could challenge Western dominance in ways we haven't seen since the Cold War. But it's not just about geopolitics. This treaty could have profound implications for technological development, particularly in areas like energy technology, space exploration, and even artificial intelligence. By pooling their resources and expertise, Russia and Iran could potentially leapfrog current leaders in these fields. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, isn't this all a bit alarmist? Surely one treaty can't change everything overnight. And you'd be right to be skeptical. International relations are complex and changes often happen gradually. But here's the thing, sometimes a single event can act as a catalyst, accelerating trends that were already in motion. This treaty could be one such catalyst. So, what should we be watching for in the coming months? The official signing of the treaty and any public statements about its contents, reactions from other major powers, particularly the US, China, and the EU, changes in global energy markets, especially natural gas prices and supply routes, developments in ongoing conflicts where Russia and Iran have interests, such as Syria and Yemen, progress on alternative financial systems, particularly within the BRICS framework. But let's bring this back to you, our viewers. How might this affect your daily life? Well, in the short term, you might not notice much change, but over time, you could see changes in energy prices and potentially new sources of energy imports in your country. Trade patterns change, new geopolitical hotspots emerging, potentially affecting everything from travel plans to investment strategies. Accelerated development in certain technological fields, potentially leading to new products and services. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this historic treaty? Could it be a force for stability or further tension in global politics? How do you see it affecting your country or region? Share your thoughts.
Of February 2024. The bulk carrier MV Rubimar sails through calm waters loaded with fertilizers bound for Bulgaria. Little did its crew know that this ship's days were numbered. A few kilometers away in Yemen, an anti-ship missile is launched. Tearing through the skies at impressive speed, this projectile has one target. The MV Rubimar. The attack damaged the Rubimar's hull near the waterline, causing a violent explosion. Within hours, the ship would be completely underwater. Although the crew was rescued without major problems, this incident had a massive repercussion. The Rubimar dumped tons of fertilizers and other toxic substances into the ocean. It was also dragged adrift for several kilometers until it sank completely, and its anchor possibly damaged underwater cables that transmit data. In light of this tragedy, the United States made a statement that echoed around the world. The Houthis are a threat to international navigation. The conflict between the United States and the Yemeni rebels has a history dating back several years, but it has recently intensified to alarming levels. This is because the American fleet in the Middle East is facing its most difficult and dangerous challenge since World War II. American warships are currently engaged in an intense and prolonged battle in the Red Sea against a much less powerful enemy. The problem is that these confrontations are consuming large naval resources of the United States and creating serious risks for global maritime trade. At the center of these tensions are the Houthis, a Shiite rebel group that controls much of Yemen. In recent months, the rebel group began launching constant attacks using missiles and drones against ships navigating through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and Red Sea, mainly as a way to pressure Israel and disrupt its airstrikes in Gaza. They also demand that the international community intervene in Yemen's civil conflict and ease the Saudi-led blockade that has caused a devastating humanitarian crisis in the country, causing great damage to maritime navigation and international trade. These aggressions ended up dragging the American Navy into a war. Since November 2023, the United States has maintained a naval task force in the region to deter Houthi attacks and ensure navigation safety. This task force revolves around the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and escort ships, which operate day and night to intercept enemy missiles. Even with all this naval power, in recent months, the Houthis have become a major thorn in the side of the Americans. This is because their attacks have been increasingly frequent and sophisticated. Until now, the United States had been managing to keep the situation under control and avoiding major losses, shooting down hundreds of Houthi missiles and drones with guided interceptors. However, the frantic pace of their operations is wearing down the equipment and crews of the American Navy. Some ships have even had to be resupplied and re-equipped after months in the Red Sea. To give you an idea, the Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group involves about 5,000 military personnel and costs hundreds of millions of dollars per month to operate. Its fighters have already flown tens of thousands of hours on combat missions. Moreover, the interceptors used to neutralize the attacks cost around $2 million each. Navy Secretary Carlos del Toro revealed that the United States has already spent almost $1 billion on ammunition alone so far. In comparison, the missiles and drones employed by the rebels cost a small fraction of that. Experts say the Houthis have an almost unlimited capacity to manufacture these drones and missiles, being able to sustain these attacks for a long time. And this became quite evident at the beginning of this year when the Americans took a hard hit. In January, the Houthis launched a coordinated attack with drones and missiles against a U.S. warship, the USS Nitsa, injuring several American sailors. In response, the United States carried out airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen, but these attacks seem to have had little effect in deterring the rebel group. They continue to carry out their attacks at an even higher rate and threaten commercial navigation. Their actions have already affected traffic in the Red Sea, which accounts for something between 10 to 15% of global maritime trade. Container traffic plummeted 90% between December 2023 and February 2024, forcing shipping companies to make time-consuming and expensive detours around the Cape of Good Hope. Still, dozens of ships were hit. In addition to the Ruby Mar tanker we mentioned at the beginning of the video, the cargo ship True Confidence was hit, killing 3 crew members and injuring another. And, as expected, these incidents brought serious economic consequences. Egypt lost half of its revenue from passage through the Suez Canal. Global companies suffered supply chain disruptions, such as Tesla's factory in Germany. Even the delivery of humanitarian aid to Yemen and Sudan was delayed by weeks. These losses ended up forcing the U.S. Navy to maintain its naval apparatus in the Red Sea to protect international navigation. The problem is that sustaining this war is becoming increasingly difficult for the Americans. For now, the country is limiting itself to responding to attacks in isolation without trying to eliminate Houthi capabilities. But this defensive strategy seems insufficient to deter the rebels. As U.S. Navy Admiral John Kirby observes, we cannot maintain this level of operations indefinitely. This is putting enormous pressure on our ships, our sailors, and our budget. For now, the Biden administration remains firm in supporting the naval presence in the Red Sea, but there are growing concerns that the continued U.S. involvement could end up worsening the situation. Some experts argue that American attacks only serve to strengthen the Houthis' determination and deepen the conflict. Given the situation, what options does the United States have to break this impasse and deter the Houthis? Attack ground targets on a larger scale? Block Houthi ports? Well, all indications are that this would only bring more problems for them. A diplomatic solution also seems distant, as the rebels defy the United States precisely to obtain political gains. Withdrawing American ships is also not an option, as it could demonstrate weakness and open the doors to even worse attacks against international navigation. Thus, the White House opted for a cautious approach, with specific measures to try to wear down Houthi capabilities. However, after months without decisive progress, it became quite clear that the rebels are not feeling intimidated. Now, in the long run, it seems that the United States will have to rethink its massive naval presence in the Red Sea and seek a negotiated solution. However, reaching such a solution is easier said than done. Previous negotiations have failed, and there is little trust between the parties. But this seems to be the best way out. Otherwise, they will find themselves trapped in a war of attrition against an enemy that is difficult to defeat. After decades of preparing to face great powers, the American Navy finds itself in a frustrating situation, consuming valuable resources in a daily battle against insurgents in improvised boats and carrying rudimentary weapons. Even with all its technological superiority, the United States seems unable to restore security in such an important maritime corridor. And if the Houthi rebels continue to resist this pressure indefinitely, it will represent a serious strategic defeat for the American naval superpower. And you, what do you think about this? Leave your opinion.
Cultfig, follow me.